Wednesday here on the Dave Elswick Show. You got problems over there? Your mic's not on. All right. So you got problems. Okay. So she's working. While Val is trying to figure out the Starship Enterprise,
We have a bad delay.
I will. Really? You got a delay? I don't hear
let me
anything.
turn this preview down.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything as being a delay. I mean, I'm hearing myself perfect right now. It sounds like it's all working good. Hopefully, it's going out over the air good. And there, the camera just came up, so there I am. I'm here. I'm awake. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock for some reason. Must be that thing they keep telling me as you get older, you don't sleep well. That's something for me. That's really, really new, totally new for me. Of sleeping, not sleeping good. I went to bed at my normal time, about 9:30. Read for about 20 minutes, and then called it a night. Closed my eyes, and I snapped open like a roller blind at about 4 o'clock. It was weird. Wake up that time, but I got a little more reading done. Got the good book out. Spent time looking through Proverbs and learning some stuff. So normally we would have Congressman Hill on right now. We got a late notification yesterday that he had been told that he was being pulled into a meeting this morning, and so he can't make it. I've sent them a text asking that or an email, in fact, and asking if he's available on Friday. So we'll see if we can get him in on Friday, because Thursday is like totally sold out right now for our guests. So we will have Hill on hopefully by Friday. If not, we'll have him on next Wednesday. So coming up at 7:35, it's going to be Congressman Westerman joining us here on the show. So one of the congressmen will have made it to join us. And then we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of news out. Did you see the whole thing about Trump yesterday? Came out, the president came out and said that, the problems that are going on over in the Middle East, he felt were going to be settled here very shortly. The president spoke of progress in talks with Iran. He admitted that War Secretary Hegseth and the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, weren't particularly enthused about what had transpired. According to The Hill, Hegseth and Kane were, quote, the only two people that were quite disappointed, unquote. The U.S.-Israeli war against Tehran may soon come to an end, Trump said in the Oval Office following the swearing in of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. Quote, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. And they go, oh, that's too bad. Pete didn't want it to be settled, Trump said. They were not interested in settlement. They were interested in just winning this thing, unquote. He'll also was saying that Israel's Channel 14 reported that the foreign minister and the parliament speaker received temporary immunity from Israel and the U.S., valid at least for the entire 5 days of negotiations underway with Tehran. The revelations confirm and reinforce what has been talked about in the last 2 days regarding the ongoing talks with the regime in Tehran. Meanwhile, the pressure remains on. I told you about this yesterday. The Pentagon is set to deploy elements of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East, that according to two people familiar with the matter. About 3,000 soldiers from the elite paratrooper division will be deployed. One of the people said they will join the thousands of Marines who are aboard warships en route to the region. Speaking at the White House on Tuesday, Trump said the U.S. was in contact with the, quote, right people, unquote, in Iran, emphasizing that Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio were involved in the talks. So, what do we take from all of this? Well, do I think it's a big deal that the Secretary of War and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff want to win? No, I'm not surprised at that. If you're an American fighting man or American fighting woman, the thing that you want to do if you're going to fight is you want to fight to win. You don't want to fight to lose for sure. And just in their own minds, they've got some perhaps ideas that they would have liked to have seen gotten done before they came to an agreement with Iran, and maybe the agreement's not what they were hoping for. Now, that means that the Department of War, the Secretary of War, Hegseth, and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Kane, have to make up their mind. One, they stay where they're at and carry out the policies of the President of the United States as he sees this being done, or they resign. You got one of two things. You either follow orders or you leave. That's what you got to do. And so we'll see what happens there. I don't know. This could be being reported by the Hill, and it's a molehill, not a mountain in front of us with excess and with Kane. So we'll wait to see what happens here. I mean, look, we've not even ended hostilities with the Iranians yet. And until that happens, everything else is just conjecture. And so you gotta wait to find out what's going to happen. And I'm in the same boat you are. I'm going to be sitting here waiting to hear what the president has to say. And if they reach an agreement by Friday, he'll speak to the American people, which I'm part of that group. And then we'll all talk together and say how we feel about it. That's the way that this works. We elected him president of the United States, and he makes the final call. Period.
And that's what the president is. That's what the executive is.
Yep. That's his job. He's the commander in chief. I mean, that's the way I always looked at it when I served. If the commander in chief said we're going to do this, we did this. So we'll see how that plays out. Something's telling me there's more to this than what the Hill said. Hill's not the most conservative newspaper in Washington, D.C. by a long shot. Most of the people who work on the Hill are pretty doggone liberal. So just know that as well, that they're probably taking, like I said, they're taking making a mountain out of a molehill. So I think you just got to wait until it's settled. You got to know what's going on. I say that about a lot of things that we do here on my show. There's stories that I get, and validate this. Somebody comes to me with a story, and I don't do anything about it because I don't believe we got enough information to say anything, to take a position.
That's why you gather information.
Yeah, I try.
And when you understand your position.
Yeah, until
But people don't do that anymore, Dave.
Well, yeah, that's. Look at the guy who plays Reacher. Look what happened to him. He just
smashes.
He's got this guy. The police said it was self-defense. They weren't going to press any charges against him. He got in a fight with his neighbor. I guess Rand Paul is his favorite senator. And he got in trouble.
What, are we talking about the real Reacher?
We're talking about the guy that plays a preacher.
Something happened
Richardson.
recently?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were talking about the show.
No. I'm talking about the actor.
Okay, I must have missed that one.
Okay,
then.
so he's out riding his. I guess I'm thinking it's a dirt bike is what I think he's riding.
In the neighborhood?
In the neighborhood, and he's zipping up and down the street. And
Is this in Kentucky? Doesn't Rand Paul live in Kentucky?
Yeah, Rand Paul does, but I don't think Richardson does. But anyway, he's going up and down the street, and he leaves for a while, and he goes and gets his two kids, and they come back riding their motor scooters or their dirt bikes or whatever. And this neighbor is upset because he thinks that Richardson's going too fast through the neighborhood, stands out in front of him in the road and makes Richardson basically dump his bike to keep from hitting him. And so he got back on his bike. He was going around, and this guy is just cussing him out, yelling at him.
What happened to freedom?
And cussing at him and stuff. Well,
first we don't have the context of the neighborhood.
So anyway, what happened then is that they were in a shouting match and punches got thrown.
Oh my gosh!
And Richardson got into fisticuffs with this guy. And they reported it in the news. I don't know if TMZ got a hold of it. Somebody else got a hold of it.
I'm a lawyer.
But somebody else started talking about this. And so people started commenting on it immediately. You had to take a side before the police came out and found out what was going on. People are taking sides.
What happened to innocent till proven guilty?
Yeah. I watched a movie last night that I've been wanting to see. Enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. Mercy. You seen it yet? Got to watch it. You'll love it. It's about what happens if they put people going on trial and the judge is AI.
Wow, that's no emotion.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You know, I asked AI sometimes, like, what are my faults?
Uh-huh.
And it says, boy, you're brave. But then it tells me what my faults are. But it says, but I also want to tell you what your strengths are.
Yeah.
And I'm like floored because I don't see myself that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But all the input over the last year that I put in, it gave me analysis of myself. And I think that people need to, when somebody tells you something about yourself and you question it, like if more than one person tells you something, then you should take a look at it. That's how I've always, but you should question it. But also more than one person could be wrong also. But AI is just fact-based. Like it's just literally not a human emotion. Yeah, it won't lie to you.
You gotta watch this movie.
Is it like that?
They bring that up.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was my idea a year ago.
It's a great.
I'm the one that put it. I'm gonna put it out there.
It's a good movie. I liked it. The guy who is in the Jurassic Park movies, the last few, with
I'm having a button problem here. Sorry.
She was. Yeah. He was. He's in it, and he wakes up.
So it's a movie or a series? Sorry.
It's a movie.
Okay.
He wakes up, he's strapped in a chair, and he is in front of the court, which is just him and the computer.
Oh, wow.
And he is being charged with the murder of his wife. And he has 2 hours using all available means of getting information and stuff to prove his innocence. You're literally guilty until proven innocent. You got to prove that you're innocent.
Right.
So it's a good movie. You'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I definitely will watch that. I will watch it not tonight, probably.
It's a good movie.
What's it on?
It's on Prime.
Okay.
So yeah, they're pushing it hard. They're pushing it hard.
I mean, that's literally what I do. Like it's what I think about because it takes the emotion because humans are so like, to me, it's more like a person with autism because sometimes we get a little now filter, we'll just tell you we'll tell you exactly what you don't want to hear sometimes, and we don't cherry coat or what my words. We don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
So, and we don't mean to be mean.
You don't do the Southern way. Go, God bless your little heart.
I don't have that in me. That's passive aggressive. I am definitely not passive aggressive. That's why I don't have high blood pressure though, Dave.
Yeah.
Because I don't hold it in.
Well,
we got to get a break.
I take blood pressure medicine, so that probably not a big surprise to you. All right, 21 minutes after 7 on the Dave Elswick Show, and I'll come back, talk more about what the president has said, and he left some things hanging out there that got me wondering. I'm wondering what's going to happen by Friday. Evidently, the Iranians made some kind of said, we're going to give you this or give you that to the United States, and he was like, yeah, it's worth a lot of money. So we'll see we got to see what he's going to bring up and pull out for all of us to see before the end of the weekend, I guess. It's the Dave Elswick Show. We'll be back in a moment. Let's get a break. Don't forget that State Senator Mark Johnson will be in studio at 9:05 here on the Dave Elswick Show.
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Don't miss out on the latest news. Operation Epic Fury is here, and we're giving you the inside information. Make sure you're listening for all the details on Operation Epic Fury, right here on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Now, back to the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 The Answer.
All right, we got about 5 minutes remaining here till we get to the bottom of the hour, and at that point, Bill O'Reilly will join us, and then we'll take a break listening to him, make a little money, and then come back, and we'll be joined by Congressman Bruce Westerman, and we will talk to him about what's going on up there on Capitol Hill, what they're discussing. You know, I always like to say they're cussing and discussing. That's what I'm saying, because they all don't agree. I mean, it's not.
We're just
not
a little bit
possible.
more civil than England sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, a lot more civil than they are, for instance, in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Where they will,
Karate
or
chop.
Taiwan. Taiwan is terrible. They will get in fistfights in the corridors and things of that nature. But anyway, what has happened? Just so I'll bring you up to date again. This is the big story today. Is that Trump spoke out yesterday, and you know the president is transparent. He says what he's thinking, and that's what he did. And the Hill reported on it, and They said the president spoke of progress in talks with Iran. He admitted that the Secretary of War and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff weren't particularly enthused with what the president was saying about Iran. And Hegseth and Kane were, quote, the only two people that were quite disappointed about this U.S.-Israeli war against Iran may soon come to an end. And Trump said in the Oval Office following the swearing in of Homeland Secretary, Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. And they go, oh, that's too bad. He didn't want it to be settled, Trump said. They were not interested in settlement. They were interested in just winning this thing. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean they want them to, unconditionally surrender? Is that what they're looking for? They're not looking for any kind of a kind of mediated peace or whatever. I would tend to fall on their side. I think the president, if he thinks about it, would be towards their side, really, because we know how often Iran has lied, saying they'll do this or do that, and then they don't do it, and they try to escape the consequences of their actions by doing things that way. So I believe in Iran the same way I believed in the Soviet Union. All right. Have some trust, but verify. You watch them. You don't take your eye off them. You put them under the microscope and you make sure that they follow everything till all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And if they don't, whatever you were doing before, you go back to doing again.
Well, it's Iran.
Yeah.
How many times have they done this?
Yeah.
And who's making
47
the deal?
years.
Like, who's making the deal, though? I wonder, like.
Well, Rubio's still over
We don't know who's over it, right? So
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, who are you making the deal with?
Well,
Because they said.
I'm sure the president is involved.
No.
in
I
doing
know.
it.
But who is it now? You know what I mean?
Oh, who's he
the
talking
gay
to over
son
there?
doesn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
The guy that's exiled that was the Shah's son, he wants to be in. So who are they making a deal with?
Well, at that point, who's ever in charge right now, and then they'll have elections, and somebody else will be in charge.
Well, because Iran was like, we've not had any conversations with them.
They're
So they're probably like, are
propaganda
you
is
talking to
going
him? Are you
crazy.
talking to him? Are you?
Yeah.
They're probably killing each other over.
All I know is what the press has been talking about. The president said this in the Oval Office yesterday after the swearing in of Mullen, and so he said it on the record. And we'll have to see how it all turns out. I mean, I might not agree with what the president has come up with to bring this to an end. I don't know. I'll accept whatever he comes up with, but I'll critique it if it's weak tea. I'll guarantee you that. Because here's the key: if you don't stand strong, then people are going to be looking at you badly. I'll talk about that later. But right now, here's Bill O'Reilly.
Trapped in a timeshare, fees rising every year while availability shrinks, resorts making exiting nearly impossible. That's why I partner only with Lone Star Transfer. This family-owned company is transparent, honest, respectful. They have helped more than 40,000 owners exit legally and ethically through a simple guaranteed process. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress. Please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or you can call 855-551-7066. Tell them Bill sent you today. On this Wednesday, media deception is beginning to affect every American. Two vivid examples. A new CBS News poll says a majority of adults believe the Iranian military action is not going well. But what is that opinion based on? Can't be the battlefield. The top leadership of Iran has been killed, its Navy and Air Force destroyed, its ballistic missile capacity almost completely neutralized. So either the folks don't know anything, or they are basing their opinions on rising gas prices, which no one likes. On the airport front, TSA agents are still not being paid because Democrats are demanding that ICE be neutralized. Dems say no money unless judicial warrants are issued before undocumented people are taken into custody. Well, that's impossible, as President Biden allowed about 10 million foreign nationals into the USA unsupervised. There simply aren't enough judges to satisfy the judicial warrant demand. The truth is the Dems don't want immigration enforcement. Did you get any of the above from the corporate media? Bet you didn't. That's deception. Back in a moment. You need a pharmacy that works smarter, not harder. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. Forget doctor visits, pharmacy lines, or dealing with insurance. All Family Pharmacy makes it simple. Go online, choose your medications, fill out a quick medical form. A doctor reviews your request, provides the prescription if it's appropriate. Then they ship it right to your door. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 for 10% off. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, like he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council. We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
When I met both of them, it was like my missing pieces were found. Like it was just like an instant, these are my kids. If you're considering adopting a teen, just do it. Kids need families. I don't care the age. Everybody deserves a family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Did you hear Congressman Bruce Westerman on the Dave Elswick Show?
The threat that obviously is posed by Iran, especially if they get missiles that will shoot longer. You know, I've been over in the area and I've visited bases where we have missile defense systems that we put there to protect Europe from Iran. I think the Russians think we put it there to protect or to shoot down Russian missiles, but they're really there to shoot down missiles from Iran. And I don't know if it's because of the large Islamic influence and Muslim integration into Europe that would keep them from getting involved, or what their issue is. I don't think they're safe from the Iranian regime, and it doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't want to get involved. Now, if you look at the kind of the philosophy of the Iranian military forces, they build stuff to one goal, and that's to kill people that don't believe the way they do.
Don't miss Congressman Westerman, Wednesday mornings at 7:30 on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1. The Answer. The Dave Elswick Show is back. 101.1. The Answer.
Okay, we're waiting on Congressman Westerman. He'll be calling us shortly. I just got a text from him, a thumbs up that he'll be with us. So be watching the phone. He'll be calling you. He'll be calling you, Val, to talk to you, and he'll join us. So that's our next guest is U.S. Congressman Bruce Westerman. He's here. All right, he's here. He's up on. Are you in Washington D.C., Congressman?
I am, Dave, right here in Cannon House Office Building 202 today.
And what are you doing?
The morning going.
What are you doing today?
Well, we start off with our GOP conference that starts in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then I've got a packed schedule all day long. And this is spring break in Arkansas, so we got a lot of visitors in D.C.
Ah, yeah.
And I think I'm taking about 70 people through the Capitol tonight after hours to give them kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what happens in the Capitol. So it'll be a busy day.
All right, so they get to go in the chamber and look around, and you'll take them into Statuary Hall and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah, hopefully take them out on the speaker's balcony and let them see some areas that you don't normally get to see on a normal tour of the Capitol. It's something that I've been doing a long time. It's a fun thing to do, especially on spring break when you got families that are coming in to visit DC, and a lot of them, that may be the only time they come to our nation's capital.
Now, do they get to go into the ultra secret what's going on behind the curtain cloakroom?
I've never taken them in the cloakroom, but we do go in the House chamber if the House isn't in session.
Oh, that's cool.
So they get to go out.
I've been down there before. It's so cool. And the cloakroom. No, like Tim Griffin brought me down there. One time I had a meeting with him up there, and he was like, "I didn't want to leave you hanging, Val." And I was like, "This is so cool." Like, he stuck his little head out the door. I was like, when he was voting.
The last time, Congressman, that I was in the Capitol and watching the House at work was when they were censoring and tossing out of Congress Adam Clayton Powell. How's that one for you?
That's been a while back.
It has been a while, hasn't it? That's back in the late 60s that occurred. But I watched the vote take place, and
that's awesome. That's his story.
I was already, big time into politics, but after that, I was over my head. I had to get more involved in this stuff and find out, what it was going. Never wanted to run, but I always wanted to report on. And
well, you've done a great job at that over the years.
I try. So what's going on go ahead.
I was just going to say my committee's very active today. I've got committee hearings and both in the Natural Resources Committee and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So I get up at 5. I've been to the gym and worked out and ready to go.
All right. Well, I got up at the same time you did today because I woke up at 4:00 this morning. It was like, I don't know why I'm awake, but I'm awake and I can't go back to sleep. It was that way, but you're an hour ahead of us, so you're working out. I was still snug in my bed because it was warm and I wanted to stay that way, but duty calls, as they say.
Yeah, my workout partner is our new Secretary of Homeland Security.
Well,
Mark Wayne. Yeah, he's been leading our workout group since I got to Congress, and he and I have gotten to be close friends. So big day for him yesterday.
Yeah, he was. Did he tell anybody that he could whip their rear ends if they wanted to take him on?
I don't know if he told anybody that yesterday, but he's. I can assure you he's certainly capable of that.
Yeah. He told another senator, "Hey, you want to throw down? I'm throw down right here."
Yeah, he told the head of the Teamsters that in a hearing one time.
And the guys
now they're good buddies.
Oh, now they're good buddies, huh?
Yeah,
that's the way to do. Keep your enemies close. So that's a smart way of doing things. It really is. Why don't you give us your assessment of Mark Wayne Mullen? Is he going to be good for DHS?
I think so. Mark Wayne's just he's basically an Arkansan. He's got a ranch that the eastern border of his ranch is the Arkansas state line. So he's probably as much like Arkansas folks as he is Oklahoma folks, but just a great guy that grew up in rural Oklahoma. He did go to college and wrestled, and he did MMA fighting, and he started a plumbing company that just grew like crazy. He had offices all over, and he sold it a few years ago, and he did very well in the plumbing business. And to hear his story about how, he was just telling me the other day how much he liked to snow ski, but I think he said he had worked 2 or 3 years without taking off, and he and his wife Christy had a day off, and they drove out to Colorado and skied for half a day, and then drove back, and he was right back to work. But the story of starting a small business and just barely scraping by, and it's a really great American success story of how he did with that plumbing business. And then he's just plain spoken. You don't have to worry about where you're at with Mark Wayne. But he's also there's a kind of a teddy bear under that tough exterior. He's got a lot of compassion, and I think he's going to do really well in the role as Secretary of Homeland Security.
Well, he's going in at a tough time, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and he's got I think he's got a lot of opportunity to maybe change the way some things are done and make some good strides. And I think the president will give him the leeway to do that. That he was telling me about how the president called him. He went into the Senate luncheon they have on Thursdays, and I had worked out with him that morning and was visiting with him. And he said that he got a call from the president. He stepped out, and the president told him he wanted to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. And Mark Wayne said, "Well, can you give me 24 hours?" And he said, "No, I'm tired of messing with it." And he said he was on the speakerphone, and he heard Susie Wiles come in and say, "We got the press release ready to go." And Mark Wayne said all he could think was, "I got to get off the phone and tell Christy, his wife, before she reads it on social media."
I can't even imagine. What?
Yeah. So he goes to lunch, his normal senator lunch, and halfway through he finds out he's going to be the new Secretary of Homeland Security.
Wow, that would be incredible.
Yeah. And Mark Wayne's pretty independent, but now he's got a full-time security detail and all of that stuff that goes along with it.
Do they come to work out with y'all too?
They wait outside the gym. But
I didn't know when they're working out too or not.
Well, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Make them pack their weapons while they're in there working out with you. That'd be crazy. That'd be fun. You'd have a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure from looking at those guys, they get their workout in sometime during the day.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that they do. What do you make of? Have you read the news very, very closely today yet?
Yeah, that's one of the things I do when I get up early in the morning is I do a lot of reading. But I know. I guess kind of the main thing in the news is the Iran war.
Yeah.
Which, Trump had some interesting statements about that yesterday.
He sure did.
When Mark Wayne was in the Oval Office there, I guess the press corps came in, and a lot of that came from there. But it's an odd deal in one sense. But then when you think about you're dealing with Iran, maybe it's not an odd deal. But the president's saying we're having talks, and the Iranians are adamantly denying that they're having any talks. But if you look at their past performance, you have to look at what they do, not what they say.
Yes.
What didn't they say they sunk an aircraft carrier a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
I mean, they will spend any kind of propaganda they can. But the question is, what actions are we going to see? And I guess through Pakistan, the president has got a list of like 15 things that I don't think we really know what those are, but looks like he's going to give them a few days to consider all of that, and hopefully we'll see some closure. And some normality coming back over there and get
we can only hope.
the Strait of Hormuz open. But we also, I think we have to make sure we've achieved the objectives. And I don't know. There's not a lot of information about it, but that's kind of where the story seems to be heading.
Well, the Hill reported, and the Hill, by the way, and I reminded my listeners, is not the most conservative publication known to man. And they're reporting that there's a rift kind of between the Secretary of War and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the president. They don't like what he's saying that he's going to offer or whatever. They don't offer anything that supposedly the president was offering to Iran or not. And I just told everybody today, wait until the president says what he's going to do. He hasn't come out and said what he's going to do. And then if the Secretary of War doesn't agree with it, if Secretary Joint Chiefs of Staff doesn't agree with it, they can do one of two things. They can continue in the position they are and carry out the administration's ends, or they can leave. I mean, that's what you got to do at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty binary.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any substance to. I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in what the Hill's reporting, but even if that is the case, I think you laid out the outcome about as well as it can be described. We know if there's a difference of opinion, which opinion's going to carry the day.
That's exactly right.
There's no question on that. But I haven't seen anything on that. I would be surprised if Hegseth is publicly saying something opposite to what the president's saying.
Yeah, I kind of believe that myself.
If he's doing that, he might not have a chance to resign.
Yeah, he'd get fired. That is exactly right. You are right on the nail with this one, Congressman. The president won't screw around. He is the commander in chief, and there's a reason that you're called that.
Right. And I think, knowing the president, that, behind closed doors, discussing the pros and the cons of something, I think there could be some differences of opinions. And I think that would be a secretary's duty to say, Mr. President, have you considered this? But at the end of the day, when they walk out of the room, there's one right answer.
That's exactly right. You're right. We have to take a break. Let's do that, and then we'll come back and finish it up, our conversation today, and I'll let you get to your meeting here during the Dave Elswick Show. Let's take a break. Congressman Bruce Westerman is here. Coming up after the news, we got State Senator Mark Johnson on the Dave Elswick Show.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs and legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
The conservative voice of Arkansas. The Dave Elswick Show on 101.1. The Answer.
All right, let's finish it up now with Congressman Bruce Westerman, District 4. And Congressman, how long do you think it's going to take gas prices to get back to where people find that they're palatable? Do you think by summer vacation they'll have gotten back down? Let's say the war ends on Friday. At that point, we'll watch the stock market go crazy for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it will take long when things settle down, and it really all comes back to tankers going through the Straits of Hormuz. And talking about the news of the day, Iran has announced that they're going to let non-military ships go through the Straits. Now, I also saw something where they were charging a huge fee for that.
Yeah, $2 million.
But, yeah. So if you get the oil flowing back out and everything else, the fertilizer, all the things that pass through that strait, I think that's going to provide a lot of stability back in the economy. It's going to help the global supply of oil. Because what is it, like 20% of the supply goes through those straits every day.
Yeah, but it's going to people that we don't like. It's going to China and it's going to Russia and other people. I kind of like it that we're cutting the oil off to China.
But the issue with oil is it finds its way into the markets. So if there's not enough supply, the price is going to go up because those countries that are buying it from Iran right now, it's actually, there's several countries in that area that are producing oil that go through the straits. If that's off the market, then they just start bidding up the price on the global market. So it's hard to, we talk about electricity and water that flows to where there's a demand for it. That's how oil does in the market. So it's just, if there's not enough supply, you're going to see prices rise, and it's hard to just flip on a switch and create more supply. So by the same token, when the supply is there, the demand's going to balance out and the prices are going to go down. So as quickly as the prices went up, I think the prices will go down when you get the straits open.
I've got about one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say one part of this whole issue that I need to get better understanding on is what's preventing our Navy from allowing easy passage through the straits. And I'm guessing it's probably militants on the land that are shooting or launching drones or shooting missiles at ships, which those slow-moving ships would obviously be pretty easy targets. So, if you were going to prevent that probably would require troops on the ground in those areas, which I don't think there's a lot of appetite for that, even though, there's been some Marines sent over there and now some airborne troops. So it'll be very interesting to see what plays out on that. But I think one of the most critical issues is being able to open up the straits.
Well, I got to tell you, an air campaign, and I'm Air Force, so I'm all about, bombing people. If you can bomb them into submission doing it that way, then let's continue doing it that way. But you're going to have somebody there to take care of those militants that you're talking about. And the paratroopers can do a good job with that. They really can. And, we don't want to put troops in. I understand. But, hey, when it's going to cause problems for something that makes the economy run for everybody, I understand why we might have to put troops on the ground. I mean, I really do. I understand it, but they won't be in, quote, Iran proper, I think, is everybody has to understand. It's not like we're going to, attack Tehran or something. I don't expect that that's going to happen anytime soon in the future. I think the people will take care of that. Can I ask you one last question before you head off to your meeting? Which Ivy League school did you go to?
I went to Yale for
Yale
graduate school.
All right, you went to Yale. Okay, so When I was in high school, I was offered, a full ride to Princeton, turned it down, went to Morehead State so I could play baseball. And I was talking about that on the air the other day, and I said I didn't think that I would have fit in real well with Princeton. I'm the son of a steel worker, and I didn't think I would done real well with the Blue Bloods there at Princeton. Do you think that was a good decision on my part?
Yeah, but you would have. My son went to Yale for undergraduate, and I told him the mindset you got to have is you're going as a missionary. You don't.
You're right.
You got to bring a new way of thought in there. I'll never forget this young lady from New York City, and I mean you think there's liberals in D.C. go to an Ivy League campus, but she looked at me one day and she said, "Where are you from, and what are you doing here?"
There you go.
Yeah, but I loved it because it was a great opportunity to sit down across the table from people who just had a totally different worldview than I did, and be able to communicate my thoughts and listen to their thoughts. And I think it was a great experience. But also, I had been out of undergraduate and had worked for several years, and I was married and pretty stable in life, so I was pretty set in my ways too, so I wasn't worried about I'll just put it this way, none of them convinced me their ways were the right way.
Well, that's good. And I can tell that you did a good job, because you've been battling them ever since.
Well, it never hurts to have that kind of background when you're dealing with people that see the world in a different way, to kind of understand where they're coming from. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with them on all this stuff.
Yeah, well, you went to school and showed up at class with, a blazer on and a nice fresh press shirt, and they were there in their clown outfit, and you knew that you were way different than they were.
Well, it was forestry school. There wasn't a lot of blazers and pressed shirts that were worn to class up there. But it was as far as the educational part of it, phenomenal professors that knew their subject matter and opportunities. And I never imagined when I was up there doing that I would be the chairman of the Natural Resources
There you
Committee
go.
someday.
It gives all of us hope. It gives all of us hope. And thank you very much for being with us today, Congressman, on the Dave Elswick Show. Bruce Westerman, District 4. Have a great rest of your day, sir.
You too, Dave. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later. All right. I got to take a break. And then he told me he only has to drive through 4 stoplights to get to my show now. Mark Johnson, state senator here in Arkansas, will join us next hour after the news here on the Dave Elswick Show.
Freedom has a frequency, and it's 101.1. The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Apparently, there are behind-the-scenes efforts to bring the Iran war to a close, even as hostilities continue, and there are plans for additional U.S. troop deployments to the Mideast.
Source tells AP intermediaries from Pakistan have submitted a 15-point U.S. ceasefire plan to Iran. The person who was briefed on the plan's outline says Israeli officials were taken by surprise. They've been advocating for President Trump to continue the war. The proposal comes as the U.S. military prepares to deploy 1,000 troops from the 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East to supplement some 50,000 troops already there. A pair of Marine expeditionary units that will add about 5,000 Marines and thousands of sailors are also being sent. The source says those steps are being framed as Trump maneuvering to give himself max flexibility on his next move. I'm Ben Thomas. Imagine going without a paycheck for more than a month. That's a reality for TSA officers like Taylor
I
Desert.
never thought I would be in a position to where working for the federal government that I would need to go to a food bank to supplement my groceries because I do work a full-time job.
The Homeland Security funding impasse in the Senate is keeping airport screeners from getting paid, and Democrats have again refused to fund the DHS. Republicans have drafted a proposal they hope will break the logjam. It is one of the largest gatherings in the conservative movement, the annual Conservative Political Action Conference getting underway today in the Dallas suburb of Grapevine, Texas. Differing views on the Iran war are expected to be aired. Republican Senator Ted Cruz describes President Trump's decision to take action as exactly right. Stock futures higher ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. The Dow futures are up 364 points. Nasdaq futures ahead 215. S&P futures 49 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Coming to movie theaters from Sight and Sound Films.
George Whitfield has arrived to awaken the colonies.
One man was led by faith.
Arise! Come forth!
The other was a man of reason.
I am just the lightning rod. And who is the source, Ben?
This Easter weekend, an unlikely friendship shaped a nation.
One candle illuminates 1,000.
A great awakening. In theaters April 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Progressive knows that boat days can come with unexpected problems.
Dang, I forgot the wakeboard. How am I supposed to enjoy myself without my favorite water activity? I mean, sure, we could still go tubing, fishing, or even just relax on a floaty, but without the wakeboard, what's the point?
If a real problem comes along, your boat's protected 24/7 with Progressive, so you can keep worrying about boater problems. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, not available in D.C.
The investigation of the deadly Sunday night crash at New York's LaGuardia Airport, a collision of a jet and a fire truck on a runway, is now in full swing.
Stop, truck one. Stop. Stop, truck one. Stop.
That sound captured on liveatc.net of the air traffic controller trying to warn the fire truck. Then 20 minutes later.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my stuff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier, and I messed up.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air traffic control staffing was not an issue. The front of the Air Canada jet torn apart. The two pilots killed. Flight attendant Solange Tremblay ejected while strapped into her jump seat. At least 40 injured, including 2 on the fire truck responding to a separate emergency of an odor on a United flight. Julie Walker, New York.
The Trump administration is paying a French energy company $1 billion to abandon U.S. offshore wind projects. The company will instead invest the money in fossil fuel ventures. Townhall.com. It's court defeat for a social media giant.
A New Mexico jury finds that social media conglomerate Meta is harmful to children's mental health and in violation of state consumer protection law. The jury announced its verdict Tuesday after nearly 7 weeks of trial. State prosecutors had accused Meta of placing profits over safety in violation of the state's Unfair Practices Act. Prosecutors also said the company failed to adequately monitor the platforms for child sexual exploitation. Attorneys for Meta had said the company discloses risks and makes efforts to weed out harmful content and experiences, while acknowledging that some bad material gets through its safety net. Keith Peters reporting.
The fine is a tiny fraction of Meta's $201 billion in revenue last year, but the verdict illustrates a growth.
101.1 The Answer. Weather.
Well, it just doesn't get much better than this weather-wise. High today of 84 with plenty of sunshine, 52 for the low tonight, then all the way up to 86 with sunshine tomorrow.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
It's 8 o'clock. All right, Wednesday show. By the way, I made a faux pas. I made a mistake. Mark will be on, but not this hour. Next hour, he'll be here at 9:00, 9:05 to be exact, and join us here on the Dave Elswick Show. I got ahead of myself. And it's just the way it has
lose
to.
track.
It's got to do something with, getting up at 4:00. That has something to do with it. I just know it does.
For sure.
Anyway, let's take a look at some other news that's out there that everybody needs to know about. The Secretary of War yesterday was quoted as saying, "Never has a modern military been so rapidly and historically obliterated, defeated from day one with overwhelming firepower." Of course, that's Hegseth, the Secretary of War, talking about Iran being literally driven into the dirt by our military and by the Israeli Air Force as well. And he was in the White House for the swearing in of the new Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen, who our Congressman Bruce Westerman was telling us he had just been with earlier today doing his workout. He works out with him. He's good friends, evidently, with the Secretary of DHS, and was telling us that the new secretary has a ranch over on the east side of Oklahoma that butts up right against Arkansas. And he said, when you talk to him, it's like talking to an Arkansan. So that'd be interesting. I'll
Might not want to tell everybody that.
yeah, I'll send a email to the congressman and see if perhaps he can reach out for us, and then the new DHS secretary would join us for 15 or 20 minutes and answer a few questions. A lot of people know that Congressman Westerman's been on my show for years now.
Oh, yeah.
And, I got to know him when he was a state representative.
We had him on your show before when he was even elected.
Yeah, well, that's because he's a smart guy.
Yeah, no, I've always loved Bruce.
And
he is exactly how he is on the air. Like he is not like
no, he
a
don't
jerk ever.
They don't
like
put
he's
on
the
any
nicest
airs.
guy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've known him since 2012?
I knew him before then, because 2010's when the Republicans took over the state legislature, and he was there when that happened.
Yes, he was in that. So
I always talk about Bruce Westerman, because he was the first person who sat down on my show, and everybody was feeling like they could never really proceed with school choice because of the was it Westlake decision that the
Right.
court had put in place, where dollars got to be the same and all that other stuff. And Bruce said on my show, well, I ran into him in the cafeteria, and we were talking about that, and I said, you need to come on and talk about this. And he did. And that was, he is the one who floated the idea first of what they are doing here in Arkansas now, which is have the money that goes from the state to the school districts follow the students. And, I thought that was that was as good as peanut butter and jelly to me. I mean, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I've asked him for times. He's never talked about it, but I always, when he came out with that and went on my show and said it, as I tell people, he was called everything but his name.
but he never
faltered on it.
he's so calm and cool and smart, and
He just kept on doing his thing, and now
I totally respect him.
And I just made the statement to him one day on the air, in fact, that he felt now that he had been proven right about education, and all those people that were naysayers and everything. And there were quite a few Republicans as well. And he said, they just had to catch up with the times.
Yeah.
He was really good about that. He really does think like Reagan thought. It doesn't matter who gets the accolades. It's
Just get it
getting the
done.
program, getting it done, and he's done that.
Now they just need to tackle that where people are abusing the money, like buying chicken coops and for homeschooling and that's the kind of stuff. Maybe shouldn't get approved.
I'd like to know how they're doing that.
Well, because it's agriculture.
You know,
they're teaching their kid agriculture, so they get to write stuff like that off and send it in, and they reimburse it. And I don't know. I have a problem with some of that stuff. A lot of this stuff, like, I mean, if you read some of the things that people bought and they got approved, it's like, really, that doesn't have anything to do with education.
Well,
they tied a loophole to it, but
yeah,
come on.
That's the problem with a government program. I mean, it'd be nice if we actually believed in our state in freedom of education.
Well,
go educate your kid wherever you want to take in and go educate them.
And they don't want to box in education, but at the same time, we shouldn't be paying that much for a chicken coop.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree, unless that's
just one example.
It's just the kid's chicken coop and he's taking care of it and everything. I don't know. I'd have to see exactly what was going on with that, but there's not been that much, I think, wasted money with the LEARN Act. It's been going pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of people think that teachers are worth, I don't know, $60,000-$70,000 a year starting, and I don't buy that.
Starting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What?
Isn't base salary in state $50,000 now?
I think, yeah, that's crazy.
All right, that's without any experience
that's
whatsoever.
Right out of school.
You know, yeah, I know. But the kids come out of school today, not like when they came out of school.
No, they expect to make.
They expect to make bank, and they expect to be driving a Lexus and things of that nature.
Like when I graduated from college, I think they were offering reporters in Jonesboro like $12,000 a year, and that's 20 years ago. I was like, okay, I'm going to go in the mortgage business.
Yeah, well, when I came out into the job market, what I had to take out one student loan, and I could forestall paying on it for 5 years because I was just a new graduate, and they were willing to say, yeah, you'll be flipping burgers to learn how to work and things. So, we'll give you time. But I paid off my student loans as quickly as I possibly could.
Yeah, but now that they're taking out, like, I saw that ad for consolidate your student debt, and the receipt total was like $315,000. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's what they're charging now.
What?
And do you know the reason they're charging that?
Because they can.
Because they can charge it, and the kid can borrow the money without a problem from the federal government. And I think that's got different grants and stuff. That's got to come to an end.
Something's got to be corrected in that system.
Go back to the way it was before, that you have to get your money through the bank.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's my thing: you shouldn't be allowed to take out a loan to go on a cruise. And a lot of these kids take out this money and they don't realize that they're going to have to, they're 18-year-old. Because when I was, and not only that, but the credit card schemes, they'll give away a t-shirt. Here, sign up for this credit card. These are 18-year-old kids.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know nothing about credit or building it, they probably do now more because there's been more education. But man, how many people went in debt because they just filled out all these applications for these cards and then ran them up, went on these cruises and did all this stuff that they did for spring break. And then they want taxpayers to bail them out on their student loans.
And then they're expected to pay it back. That's the thing that doesn't compute in my IBM, my itty bitty mind. And I like that. And that is, I don't get where a person thinks that they can borrow money, sign a contract, borrow money, and just decide not to pay back. I mean, I know we don't have debtor prisons anymore. Back in England, back in the day, they used to, you go to jail and work it off.
Right.
That's not the way it works here.
But I also have a problem with the schools. What if I just got out of high school? Why are you making me take English again? I did all that. But they do that so they get you 2 years paid. 2 years that you have to pay for your basics all over again. You just did that in college. If you graduated from college, you just did math. You just did English. You just did lit. You just did Spanish. You just did all those things.
I didn't graduate from college. I left after my 4 years. And I was short 9 hours. And the hours that I was short was beginning English, beginning math.
All those things.
It was all core classes that you got to take before you can take other classes. And I had taken all these, and I looked at the counselor and I said, no, wait a second. I took every writing class offered in media, in radio and television. I took classes in philosophy, like
I hated that class.
I took it 4 years. Okay, I got a minor in it, and then I was in poli sci, and I said, I've done all this writing. I've done all the the kind of math you have to do in philosophy and things, and you're telling me that I need to take a beginner's English class.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I mean, those were 3-hour classes.
Yeah.
And so the cost wasn't exorbitant if you look at them today, but back then it was a lot of money. And I looked at the counselor and I said, look, you're doing this just so this school makes some extra
That's exactly
money.
right.
And I said, I am not going to do that. And he says, well, Mr. Elswick, you won't be able to graduate. And I said, I went to the classes. I took the classes. If I ever want to get for somebody, they need to see what I did in, in law and media or whatever. I can write to you, the people here, and you'll send me my transcripts.
Right.
I said, so screw it. I'm not staying.
Yeah.
I'm going. I left. I dropped out.
Well, I actually almost have a dual degree in political science, but I was done. I think I lack like 15 hours, which is like 5 classes.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, I took, instead of, basket weaving,
yeah,
like a lot of these girls and people take, not girls and guys, they take all these easy classes. I took constitutional law, comm law, media law, politics on the world stage. I took all the law classes and all the constitutional classes because I figured that if I was going to do this, then I need to know what I was doing it
there you
for.
Go.
And I made like 90s, upper 90s in all of those classes.
Why did I take philosophy? Why I was a philosophy minor? Because it teaches you to think rationally and linearly. I mean, it's what it helped me do.
Yeah.
And
I just hated it.
Yeah, because I mean, I was a conservative, and I was one of the conservatives they hated because I liked Jesus too, and boy, that really freaked them out.
Right. I just didn't like my teacher. I think he was just weird.
As many teachers as say, "Well, prove there's a God, Mr. Elswick," and I would look back at him and say, "Prove there isn't."
Or if your body, does your brain exist? If your body, like all that kind of stuff,
Descartes.
is just like
Descartes. How was it? The I am statements that Descartes came up with.
Mhm.
If you can, I think I exist.
Right.
And
if
whatever,
I think, therefore I exist.
Therefore I am. All right. So that's a fundamental kind of law of philosophy. And I always looked at him and said, well, it's nice if you're the person gets to make that up.
Right. and teach it to everybody else.
Yeah.
Now look at these fools repeating
funny.
what I say. No.
Anyway, yeah, I know all the stuff about Plato and Socrates and the cave and all that crap, and the Sauter and others. So I got it just so that if you know your enemy, you know how to argue against them.
Right.
And then that's what I did. Anyway, let's move on. We got to get to a break here, and don't forget that again. I misspoke myself. Let me just say, I didn't lie to you because it wasn't a willful thing. I just forgot that it was 9:00 that he was going to come on. Our state senator Mark Johnson was going to be here at 9, and it was just going on 8:00. So it's 8:20. I got my times right now. And we'll have Mark on after the news at 9:00.
Retirement, stop what you're doing and listen, because what's unfolding right now could hit your 401k or IRA harder than anything we've seen in years. Military escalation across the Middle East, a tariff war spilling into the courts, the U.S. dollar facing pressure that historically signals one thing, a flight to safety. Smart money has been moving into gold and silver, and it's not slowing down. Call Advantage Gold right now at 800-900-8000 and get your free gold investment kit, plus a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's eye-opening book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their retirement savings into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty-free through Advantage Gold. The next news cycle won't wait for you. Get into position now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Right here in our backyard, sellers trust Purple Wave Auction to move their equipment, from excavators and ag equipment to trucks and specialty trailers. Our no-reserve online auctions help local sellers turn iron into opportunity. You get a dedicated territory manager who knows your operation, your market, and your timeline, backed by nationwide buyer demand, local service, national reach, real results. See why more sellers choose Purple Wave. Visit purplewave.com to get started today.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The Dave Elswick Show continues now. 101.1, The Answer.
Let's talk some more about Iran and what's going on over in that area of the world. The regime has few leverage points right now. They can't leverage anything militarily because their military has literally been destroyed. Their air force is completely destroyed, and that's why, we've got superiority in the air over Iraq at this time, as well as the Israelis. Well, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the leverage points that Iran still has. And the Foundation for Defense of Democracy talked about their strategy and said Iran is seeking to tighten its grip on the Strait of Hormuz, not by closing it, but by reopening it on its own terms and forcing countries to pay for passage. Multiple reports, first from the maritime news outlet Lloyd's List, then from Bloomberg, now confirm that the colloquially named Tehran toll booth is open for business. How it works is simple. They say that you can't come through there because it's in their territorial waters. And they're charging now a toll. And it has been said that it's as high as $2 million per ship. Now, what this is a shakedown. That's what's happening. And takers are happy to pay. Traffic through the Tehran toll booth is growing steadily, with at least 20 ships transiting the corridor as of March 23rd. So a bunch of ships have gone through now. The governments of India, Pakistan, Iraq, Malaysia, and China have all reportedly begun discussions with Iran over securing access to the corridor. Ships destined for India and China have already made their way through. Meanwhile, CNN has reported earlier this month that Iran may authorize tankers to pass through the strait, provided their oil cargo is traded in Japanese or Chinese yuan. President Trump should take decisive action, targeting the corridor's military and financial support infrastructure to strike at Iran's control over the strait and deprive the regime of new, desperately needed funds. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a hard-fought battle because the Straits of Hormuz are under the jurisdiction of Iran. And they basically can do what they want to do on this. Now, I don't know what international law says about right-of-ways and things of that nature. I'm not that well versed in it. I probably get somebody from over at the law school to come on and talk about this, whose specialty applies to international law. But I would really like to see if Iran can do this legally, and that is the operative word here, legally. If they can charge a cost to go through a naturally occurring waterway, what does that say for Iran to not be, use it as a toll booth? And I hear people charge for people to go through the Suez Canal. They charge people to go through the Panama Canal. Yeah, but those were built by people. That was constructed. This is a natural occurring area in the Middle East. So that changes the argument that a lot of people would have dealing with being a toll road or whatever. I mean, if you just went out and you paved a cow path, because that's the way a lot of roads were first made, is they followed the cows walking home, and
beating down the grass,
and paved it and made it into a road. It's there's got to be laws that can be enforced and Iran just can't make international law and suddenly say, hey,
they think they can do whatever
we own
they
it, and you got to do exactly what we say if you want to come through here. There'll be a lot of argument about right of way there. I mean, that's almost like if you own a farm and somebody else buys a piece of land adjacent to your farm, and the best way of getting onto your farm is on a dirt road, and it transverses the people's property next to you, and they suddenly say, I don't want you driving on my land anymore. Can they legally stop you from going on that road?
I guess it depends on what state you live in, huh?
Yeah, a lot of it does. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, I think. It really is. All right, we're going to get to the news. That's coming up here in about 50 seconds. So it's something to keep in mind. Also, the governments that are saying they'll pay India, Pakistan, Iraq, Malaysia, and China, hey, they're all members of BRICS. We talk about BRICS here on the air a lot. These are countries that don't want to have to pay a little extra money to the United States because they do certain things.
It's like paying for protection. It's like we're the mob.
Yeah, well, we've
if you
been
think
doing
about it, somebody's the mob. Maybe not us, but somebody's making
the
them
dollar of the United States is the petrodollar.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if we lose that ability? I'll text our guest for tomorrow, Dave Fisher, and say we want to talk about that. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll come back with more here on the Dave Elswick Show.
News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Despite Iran's denial, President Trump insists the U.S. has been talking with Tehran about what it will take to end the war. Iran has reportedly received a 15-point U.S. ceasefire proposal, and there are reports the U.S. is preparing to deploy thousands of troops to the Middle East, possibly to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. A New Mexico jury finds social media conglomerate Meta is harmful to children's mental health and in violation of state consumer protection law. The jury ordering Meta to shell out $375 million. Today's a day, Grapevine, Texas, the place. Conservatives holding one of their largest annual gatherings. CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, begins today. The opening bell sounding on Wall Street, stocks starting off the day higher. More details, srnnews.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-936-5496.
Did you hear Congressman French Hill on the Dave Elswick Show?
Needs to make sure that Iran does not have an active ballistic missile threat to the region, and they end their nuclear program and they stop funding terror proxies. And this is from one of their across the Persian Gulf neighbors, the UAE, and that's exactly the kind of response we need. And I think Trump right to be irritated with NATO. I mean, America.
I agree.
Immediately, we came immediately to the defense of Ukraine, which there's no question about it. And you and I are in full agreement on that Russia should not take Ukraine.
No.
And I agree with. However, we replumbed the entire oil and gas industry to benefit Europe because of Russia's illegal, murderous invasion of Ukraine. And here, Europe and all around the world is dependent on the Straits of Hormuz and Persian Gulf oil production. Therefore, it's logical then that NATO and other American allies would, be supportive.
Don't miss Congressman Hill, Wednesday mornings at 7 on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1. The Answer.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
You can watch the show right now. The Dave Elswick Show is streaming live on Facebook. This is 101.1, The Answer.
Let's continue here on the Dave Elswick Show. I had not heard that story until I just heard it on the air, that Meta lost that court case with that young lady and the parents bringing a suit against Meta, Google, basically, and saying that their algorithms were made to cause addiction and things of that nature, and they evidently won that in court. We're going to try to get somebody on to talk about this. Here's a story here from CNBC. Meta must pay $375 million for violating the New Mexico law in child exploitation case. The jury's room. Let me just read the key points of this. It says Meta must pay $375 million for violating New Mexico's law in child exploitation case, a jury ruled. Deliberations began Monday. Jury members found that Meta willfully violated the state's Unfair Practices Act. And then lastly, they respectfully disagree with the verdict and will appeal. No kidding. I knew that. I knew they were going to do that. So that's where a New Mexico state court, the jury on Tuesday, found that Meta was guilty of this. They said that let me go get that to the beginning. Okay, here we go. After a trial where the state attorney general accused the Facebook and Instagram operator of failing to safeguard kids who use its apps from child predators. The civil trial, which began with opening argument of Fay and started last month, centered on allegations that Meta violated state consumer protections laws and misled residents about the safety of apps like Facebook and Instagram. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres sued Meta in 2023 following an undercover operation involving the creation of a fake social media profile of a 13-year-old girl that he previously told CNBC was simply inundated with images and targeted solicitations from child abusers. So this is going to get interesting. Meta's going to appeal, but I think they're on thin ice on this one. I really think they're on thin ice because they've not come out and bald, face admitted it, but they've come really close to admitting that we use these algorithms to draw certain people to certain things.
There was a lot of whistleblowers on that.
Oh yeah, a lot of people that work for Google.
Yeah.
That talked about it. The jury's verdict is a historical victory for every child and family who has paid the price for Meta's choice to put profits over kids' safety. Meta executives knew their products harmed children, disregarded warnings from their own employees, and then lied to the public about what they knew. Today, the jury joined families, educators, and child safety experts in saying enough is enough.
Whatever happened to the case in Arkansas?
That's big.
Where they were suing Arkansas for access to our kids when they passed that law last year. Was it last year? Saying that kids could only access Meta or social media certain times of the day. Wasn't that it?
I don't know.
I'll have to look at the law, but it was
I'll have
something
to
like
find
that.
out. I know that they were trying to have an age limit. That if you weren't a certain age, you couldn't go on. Oklahoma has that right now. If you're younger than 13, you're not supposed to be able to get on Facebook or on, any of the other apps that you use for social time on the air.
The Social Media Safety Act, the law was permanently blocked by a federal judge in 2025, as reported by the Arkansas Advocate and as seen on YouTube. But they reworked the legislation, and Net Choice filed suit against these measures 2025, arguing this stifle free speech for both minors and adults, causing a federal judge to block them again. So I guess that's as early as 2026. Tech industry groups continue to challenge the revised Arkansas laws in federal court, according to an article from Arkansas Advocate and news report from Route 50. So they want access to your children. And that's crazy that a judge would say, okay, you can have access to my child, because these kids get on this stuff and they give a fake age and they give a fake this, and you can tell them they can't get on it all they want, but they're going to figure it out, especially when they have laptops at school. They say they block them, but there's always ways kids find.
Well, I'm not saying that they don't, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Exactly.
We should be trying to stop. We need to understand as a culture that just allowing young people to go on to the internet off of their smartphone is not a smart thing.
No.
It's a dumb thing. I mean, I've had, practicing psychologists here on my show talking about the dangers of doing that. And it also is a danger of how well a kid learns and
Well,
things of that nature.
I'm telling you, I dated a guy about 4 years ago and he had a daughter and he said she could set up a TikTok. And I was like, okay, if you're going to do that, then let me use my email. Let me set up an email. And I made it. Well, let me use my phone number.
Right.
So I used my phone number. Do you know, we set that TikTok up and she was on it all the time. And I was like, get off of it. Get off of TikTok. Get off of it. It's crazy. They had her buying these wanting a Stanley cup. An 11-year-old don't need a $40 cup.
Yep.
And they don't need $60 face cream. But my other point is I kept getting text messages from people. Hey, how are you? It's such and such. They didn't know who I was. And then I finally figured it out. It was from this TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And it could have been men. I called one. It was a man. That's crazy. They target these children.
And predators do that. I mean, that's why they got police that their job is to pretend like they're people they aren't on the internet to try to catch predators.
Yeah.
That's why they do it.
That's what happened here, I guess.
Yeah. It says when the New Mexico's trial's second phase, which we conducted without a jury, commences on May the 4th. So that's next week. A judge will determine. Oh, yeah, it's April. Yeah, May.
We're not April.
I'm ahead of time.
Yep.
A judge will determine whether Meta created a public nuisance and should fine public programs intended to address the alleged harms. The state's lawmakers are also urging Meta to implement changes to its apps and operations, including, quote, enacting effective age verification, removing predators from the platform, and protecting minors from encrypted communications that shield bad actors.
Why wouldn't they want to do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they want access to your children. And these judges, how can a judge say, yeah, you should have access to these people's children? What right do you have access to our children? And not only that, but think about it. If a kid's doing this, they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're eating breakfast, they're on social media. They're at school on the bus on social media.
My grandkids are on social media when they're eating breakfast.
Right. But my point is everybody was telling you need to get one of these Stanley Cups. It pushes their revenue because kids don't understand advertising. And kids push their parents to get this. I need this from the TikTok shop. I need this from the Facebook ad. I need this because kids don't understand.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. I mean, I was on the side of parents when they were fighting Google, now Meta. We're fighting against the Tide Pod swallowing thing. You remember that?
Yes.
All right. And
that proves they don't understand.
Kids getting on there and swallowing. The pods, dishes, and that was a big thing. There is now one going on. I saw there was another death because of it. There amongst some adults there is a thing where they say that you can heighten your sexual experience if you bring yourself close to death.
Oh yeah.
All right. One. I mean, that's how the guy that played Kane in Kung Fu died. They found him in a closet with a noose around his neck. And
that's just crazy.
And he passed away. Anyway, on the internet, it's been kids doing it. And I can remember doing this when I was in grade school, where somebody would squeeze you where you couldn't breathe, and you'd pass out. And then, it was a thing. Say, yeah, you won't believe how cool.
I learned this.
So, and kids were doing it. Well, now they're asphyxiating each other. That it's supposed to help heighten sexual pleasure. And a lot of young kids, I'm talking about kids 10, 11, 12, 13 years old.
Kids die.
doing it, and they end up killing it. I mean, killing them. They hold them tightly. Like, I mean, if you put somebody in a chokehold, it takes about 10 seconds, they'll pass out. Then you got to let go so they can start breathing.
All we
again.
did was spray Banaka up our nose when I was a kid.
You know, so it was really just really bizarre what kids see on the internet, and so they want to try to do it.
It's crazy.
You can't make me not believe that kind of stuff can't be found and can't be blocked. I mean, there's no reason to have that. That's
they can block you from saying stuff, Dave.
Yeah,
they can block you if they don't agree with you. But you're telling me you can't block my child?
Yeah,
it's a lie.
Sure, I'm in Google jail.
Me too.
Okay,
Facebook jail,
several times, all of that. So anyway, this is a big lawsuit that they got a degree that Meta is at fault.
I think Facebook's like Walmart. You love it and you hate it.
Well, I don't
You know what I
disagree.
mean?
I don't disagree. The only reason I got Facebook now is that we post my show to it,
Right. That's why I do it, because
and people can
spreading
find
information and
the
education.
show. I've even pulled back some from putting other people's information that they've written or whatever on the internet. I'll share it if you become like a friend. If I get to know you, then I might share it with you. But I got tons of stuff that I've read and that I keep in case I want to do a topic on such and such, and I go back and try to read all the articles again and know what the arguments are for and against it. So it's 8:47, so we got to get a break in and then come back, finish up, and then we'll get to State Senator Mark Johnson after the news here on the Dave Elswick Show.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Have you ever wondered how safe your money is in the bank or how to protect your 401k and IRA? Hi, it's Dave Elswick for Landmark Capital. David Fisher with Landmark Capital will help you navigate through uncertain times. You can also hear David and I discuss the current happenings in the precious metals world every Thursday at 8:05. You'll get up-to-date information on the precious metals markets and great insight from David so you can make the best financial decisions for you and your family. As the founder and CEO of Landmark Capital Precious Metals, David has brought together an experienced team. With 30 years of guiding investments in gold and silver, Landmark Capital can help you secure your wealth today. Call Landmark Capital at 844-604-2575. Have a question? Just call 844-604-2575 or landmarkgold.com. Again, landmarkgold.com.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Something big is happening, and you need to be in the know. Operation Epic Fury is here, and the only place to get all the details. Stay tuned and listen closely for updates on Operation Epic Fury on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Dave Elswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1 The Answer.
Val, do you have that story on? You got it up Another story that came out yesterday, and I caught a couple of reports about this, and that is we're going back to the moon, and the next trip is going to be, I believe, next year in 27. And what they will do, they're going to take 4 astronauts and do a moon mission. And what that is that they're going to do what they did, like they did the Apollo. They're going to go up and go around the moon, enter into orbit around the moon, and then slingshot themselves back to Earth. And that's going to put the new Artemis thruster through its paces to make sure they're going to make sure that it works. I mean, that's what they're going to do.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well, it's out there on the launch pad. They're always pretty when they're sitting there. I think I told you that I would like to go to Florida when that happens and see a launch. I've never seen a launch, and I've heard that it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I've never seen one. I mean, I saw it on TV.
And yeah, I did that too. I mean, look, it's not going to be like it's going to be like the first moon launches. That rocket will look like it's sitting on the pad for an inordinately long time after it is ignited, and then it slowly takes off. Unlike when we were firing off the shuttle was bolted to the launch pad, and then they fired the main engines and let it build up thrust, and they blew the bolts, and it was like shooting the thing out of a slingshot.
So next Tuesday they're launching it, or next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday,
April 1st.
Yeah, they're going to make the trip around the moon. I can't wait. That excites the crap out of me. It really does.
It's cool that you're a junkie like me. Like
I love what they, what we did with the space missions with Apollo and all the rest.
But look at this, Dave. They also said, which I used to say this all the time. They tell me, put your tinfoil hat on. Look at this.
NASA announces new Mars mission. Well, that's going to, and it's right. The second part of that headline is reshapes goals on the moon. Elon Musk said about, I don't know if it was last month or maybe the month before, that SpaceX was going to turn the majority of their attention to the moon missions and not to Mars. As he made the statement, we've got to build a permanent space station on the moon, and that way, when they try to go to Mars, you don't need 25,000 pounds of thrust to break the gravitational force of the Earth. It will exponentially make things a whole lot cheaper.
So, isn't it crazy? Because have you ever seen that movie Titan AE, that cartoon?
What now?
Titan AE.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
Well, I believe that there's maybe some truth to that, in either in the future, or we did it and we became dumb again or something. And I wonder, is that how we'll do it? Will we take DNA? Will that be the arc this time? Will we take DNA to another planet, and colonize? Or?
Well, that's they've talked about that. They've inseminated eggs, and they can be put in containers.
Isn't it so Star Trekky? It's crazy.
Science fiction is just science fact, not
just how can we do it?
Coming together.
It's ideas, and then people are like, how can I do that? Look at the Jetsons. We got flying cars now.
Well, it's like I've got my cell phone right here.
Yeah, I know.
Smartphone has more in fact, about 4 times the computing power that the Apollo spacecraft had in it. And they went to the moon and came back with something, the computers running that were all IBM punch cards and stuff. A lot of you, I say punch cards, you don't even know what I'm talking about.
But you know what's crazy, Dave? When I was a kid, I was 12. So that is 40 years ago. I had a dream and I woke up and I remember this dream. It was crazy. I may have been younger than that, maybe in 10.
You weren't on the steps of the Washington Monument. Right?
No, but I was in the store and it was really
Memorial.
bright. And I was paying at a machine by myself with a card. We
Mhm.
didn't have cards back then.
Yeah.
We barely had checks back then. That's what's crazy. And then this card thing came about and I was like, I remembered that dream and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe I am psychic.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
that's
just-
crazy to me to have a dream like that. And then it came to reality, like the self-pay checkout. We didn't have that.
Journey of Man to the Moon, written by Jules Verne, where the rocket took off to go to the moon, is almost exactly where we have Cape Canaveral today. He had figured out, do the math,
The location.
the rotation of the Earth, and how fast you had to go to be able to break the gravitational pull.
And where you needed
here's
to
a big thing that there's a difference. The rocket didn't hit the moon and put its eye out,
Right. Right.
and it wasn't made of green cheese.
Oh my gosh. If you go down the rabbit hole of like stuff like that, like Tesla
Oh yeah,
and direct energy,
Yeah.
like that's a rabbit hole. You'll spend days and days and days and days on yourself. He
Well,
did not get the credit that he deserved for everything.
Oh yeah, I like the Van Allen contraption we used to have in science, and it had the belt inside of it that went around and created static electricity, and you would put your hands
Yeah.
over the metal ball,
And your
and
hands do-
and you had these bolts of lightning,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't hurt you.
No.
It didn't hurt you. It was amazing. It was very cool. I think they figured that one out from watching the old Frankenstein movie.
But if you go back and you look at some of the things, some of the experiments that he did, there's some guys that do them now, and these wireless energy. They're talking about wireless energy, and they made a boat, a little remote control boat, go with some of his wireless energy
Oh, yeah.
technology. It's really insane. I'm a nerd like that. I love stuff
I mean,
like that.
if they had gone with what Tesla wanted to do, we wouldn't have telephone poles and wires.
Right.
You wouldn't need it. Although I sure am going to wonder if that had happened a long time ago and we had started off with that, if we all would glow at night,
Right.
because you'd be inundated with RF.
But that
stuff
poor guy,
all the time.
that poor guy was mocked so badly. He died broke, and they don't know if somebody killed him, but they stole all of his files because they said that he was trying to sell them to somebody, the highest bidder, and the Russians were wanting them.
Oh, I'm sure they wanted them.
So, and then somebody, after he
100%.
passed away and found him, they broke into, he was living in that hotel in New York because he had experimental space underneath it, like a underground, like I've done a lot of
He had his own lab.
rabbit hole
huh?
in. But yeah, he has a whole lab, and they said that power would go out in New York when he was doing his experiments.
Probably would fluctuate.
Right.
As far as that's concerned. Yeah, there's a lot of history to be learned, and learning history is a way to avoid doing it again in the future, and in a way that maybe is destructive. All right, we got to get the news on. We're going to break, and then we're going to have State Senator Mark Johnson on. I want to talk to him about the fiscal meeting they're going to have at the state capitol here in just a few weeks on the Dave Elswick Show.
This is the Dave Elswick Show. Find him on Twitter and on Facebook at Dave Elswick Show. Dave Elswick Show.
Find us at 1015fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Despite Iran's denial, President Trump insists the U.S. has been talking with Tehran about what it would take to end the war.
The leaders are all gone. Nobody knows who to talk to. But we're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly. You have no idea how badly they want to make a deal.
More from the BBC's Helena Humphrey in Washington.
President Trump repeated his claim that Iran had agreed to never develop a nuclear weapon and said Tehran had offered what he described as a very big present tied to oil and gas. Asked how hopeful he was that a peace deal would work, Mr. Trump responded, "This war has been won." But the reality on the ground remains far more uncertain. The key waterway of the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, and Iran says its only operational nuclear power plant has once again been attacked. Despite the president's upbeat tone, with more U.S. troops headed to the region, the prospect of escalation cannot be taken off the table.
Iran has reportedly received a 15-point U.S. ceasefire proposal, and there are reports the U.S. is preparing to deploy thousands of additional troops in the Middle East, possibly to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. In Florida, Democrat Emily Gregory has won a special election for a seat in the state legislature. Her victory flips the district that's home to President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Today is the day, Grapevine, Texas, the place. Conservatives holding one of their largest annual gatherings. CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, gets underway today. No word yet on whether attendees will be hearing from President Trump. And there's no resolution yet of the Homeland Security funding impasse in the Senate. Watching Wall Street, stocks are sharply higher. The Dow is up more than 330 points. The Nasdaq ahead more than 200 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I am Brant, and her name is Sherry, and she's a friend and a colleague of mine, and we were just praying for her, actually, because she had a major surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is Medishare. That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like with Medishare and your healthcare bills?
You know what? It was seamless, and that's such a blessing when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was. Yeah. Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems, and let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in, and it's just what you need. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. People love Medishare and saving tons of money. The typical family, I'm fond of saying, could save $500 a month.
I am so thankful for Medishare. It's so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way, Brant.
It is a good different. Call right now. They're so easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Poland witnessed a sharp surge in cyber attacks last year.
A deputy digital affairs minister said Tuesday that Poland saw about 270,000 incidents over the last year. That's 2.5 times more than in the previous year. Poland has strengthened cyber defenses since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Polish officials have repeatedly said they suspect Russia of being behind cyber actions targeting Poland. Authorities have raised concerns about a particularly destructive attack on the energy sector in December. Keith Peters, Washington.
A former cancer nurse who became a priest at the age of 40 is being installed today as Archbishop of Canterbury. 63-year-old Sarah Mullally publicly celebrates her election as the first woman to lead the Church of England and spiritual leader of the worldwide Anglican Communion that includes the U.S. Episcopal Church. News and analysis, townhall.com. Soccer fans suffering sticker shock over World Cup ticket prices have lodged a formal complaint with the European Commission.
The group Football Supporters Europe says it has joined with consumer group Euro Consumers to allege that soccer's world governing body has abused its position to impose excessive prices. The cheapest tickets for the final are $4,185, but all prices are subject to change as FIFA is employing dynamic pricing for the first time. That means prices can go up or down at any moment, even while fans are waiting in the online queue. Bob Agnew reporting.
It is one of the longtime rites of spring in the U.S. The Major League Baseball season opens today. There is a single nighttime game. The New York Yankees will visit the San Francisco.
Mike Gallagher tries to keep it civil.
Is this battle about Israel, and that's what it seems to be about, representative of what's going on within the Republican Party, sort of writ large? That's another tricky part of this. I don't know the answer to that. I would like to think that every one of these podcasters who are currently at war with each other are on the same team.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weeknights at 11 on 101.1. The Answer.
State Senator Mark Johnson's in the studio, and he walked in and he says, "Dave, these are great looking digs. I got to tell you, this is nicer than what we had at the tower. It really is."
I think so. Yeah. I
so
miss your posters and your signs,
Yeah,
but I
well.
guess you can add those in.
And those had been moved off because they want to make sure that everybody who walks into our studio feels welcome.
Well,
which drives
you're
me
inclusive.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not inclusive. They are. And it's kind of like if I was Pete Hegseth and I'm the head of the Secretary of War, I may not like what the president is going to do, but I have to make up my mind whether I'm going to do it or if I'm going to resign.
You are a team player.
Yeah, well, you better be in military.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you.
Well, and the same way in the corporate world, you have to do that. But anyway, it is beautiful. I think the acoustics are good, and anyway, you sound good on the. I'm not that it sounded differently on the air, but it's fine.
It's got a little bit.
It's closer to my house.
Yeah, I was telling everybody on air, you only got to come through 4 stoplights to get here.
Yeah, I come right up Rodney Parham and Henson Road in that way. So
Very cool. All right,
worked
well,
out great.
I'm glad we're close, so you won't make yourself a stranger.
Oh no, I'll be around, and it's just that when you asked me last week, it was a week with 5 Mondays.
Had a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can relate. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you. You and I are pretty close to the same age.
I think we're about within a year apart.
I'm 73.
I'll be 72 in May.
Okay, I turned 73 in February. And we were just sitting here talking about the Apollo missions.
Oh, yeah.
And how fantastic they were. I've never seen an actual launch. I've seen the Apollo spacecraft in Houston where they got it sitting on the ground in front of the
and they
facility.
have that in Cape Canaveral too.
Do they have it there too? I mean,
it's amazing. I've been to a shuttle launch.
It's huge.
I got to go to the shuttle launch several years ago. Kathy had worked on a project, and we got to know an astronaut named Scott Parazynski. He was the first astronaut born in Arkansas.
Oh, cool.
His dad was an Air Force officer at Jacksonville. He was born at St. Vincent Infirmary, and but he was a medical doctor, and he came and spoke to us, a couple of groups, and we befriended him, and he kept sending us invitations to these shuttle launches. Well, our daughter, Andrea, that I just mentioned a moment ago, that's my techie space person. She was in high school. She couldn't get out of school. And so the third one we got, I said, Kathy, we got another invitation from Scott. And she said, well, Andrea's a senior. She really can't take off. And I said, this is the flight with John Glenn going back to space.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And she says, we're going. So I called her principal, and she says, yes, you need to take her. This is a once in a lifetime experience. So we got up there, and it was really amazing, not just for the shuttle stuff, but the VIPs that were there for the launch. The whole United States Senate was there. Caroline Kennedy was there because of her dad and the space program. Bunch of movie stars. I mean, Andrea got to see Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
and I'm walking through the crowd. You know how you're trying to get around somebody.
If I'm a female, if I could identify as a female right now, I have goosebumps.
That's right. But
Dave,
got to shake hands with Evander Holyfield, and but I'm sitting there, and there's a elderly guy sitting in a wheelchair with a young man pushing his wheelchair over kind of in one tree, the shade.
Strom Thurmond.
Better. I grab Andrew by the hand. I said, come with me. And she grew up going to Ray Winder Field and watching
Right.
baseball with that. It was Ted Williams.
Oh my
Oh, wow.
God. And he still had his head then.
He still had his head, and he was. Got to talk to him for 30 minutes, and
Oh, wow.
and my wife says, we need. I said, listen, this is like to discuss baseball with Ted Williams is like discussing the New Testament with the Apostle Paul.
Yeah, that's true.
But he couldn't have been nicer, and we had some
Best
friend connections.
Best pure hitter ever seen in Major League
The greatest
Baseball.
hitter of all time.
Yeah.
And I had to explain that to Andrea, and when he died, all the nutty stuff his kids did and everything, trying to preserve his brain. But she says, Dad, this guy they're talking about on the radio, isn't that who we met in Florida? I said, yeah.
I got this. I got a text. It's from my granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
My granddaughter, my nephew, my niece, Dave Ant. She's named after me.
Oh, great.
And she says, I'm super excited about the Artemis launch. They had one scheduled a couple of months ago.
That was the one we were.
And you could put your name on a list to go up in the Artemis.
What?
My name is on that list, she said.
What?
Yeah, so evidently.
That's so cool.
It's kind of a Bezos thing. I
Tell her
guess.
I'm jelly.
If it had started to work out, we were going to be able to take a launch pad tour. We were going to be able to go to 39B, and I don't know what all.
See that?
The
a lot of
thing
people,
with
we
that.
talk about this and nobody understands why we're getting excited about talking about a launch. That's where they sent the Apollo launches from.
It's the main one. I don't know
Yeah.
how it came up with the number 39B, but we went to I just showed you the photo a minute ago. We
Yeah.
went to the observation area, and I'd say you were 300, 400 yards away from it. But I mean, that's really close because we were over a mile away when we saw the
Yeah,
satellite
well,
launch.
they don't want you close in case the thing goes boom.
Yeah, because there's a lot to go boom right there. That's
There's
right.
a lot of,
But
there's a lot of firepower behind that thing.
But this is, you mentioned the things we used to see, the science fiction that happens.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that, and I bought a Tesla. I own a Tesla. And they said, well, what made you get a Tesla? I said, well, a lot of people have sent rockets up, but Elon Musk is the only one that landed it.
Right.
Like
And
Buck
when we were kids, that's the way rockets all landed
in the
movie.
They were animated, of
Yeah.
course. But the fact that he could do that, I thought that's amazing. And of course, it's a practical thing. You reuse the rockets.
Right.
But it was a lot of fun. And anyone that has never been, they have a wonderful. The Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center is several buildings, and it is fascinating and it's worth the trip. So when you go to Disney World or Universal Studios,
Make the
take a
trip.
day and go over to Cape Canaveral.
Yeah,
It's
drive
worth
from Orlando down to the Cape.
Yeah.
That's
it.
for sure.
It's definitely worth it.
I'm glad that they went back to Cape Canaveral and got away from Kennedy Space Center.
Well, it's Kennedy Space Center, but it's in Cape Canaveral,
Okay.
Florida.
All
You know,
right.
that
So they
goes
killed
back to
two
when
birds with one
that's
stone.
when the Spanish, they named it Cape Canaveral. And I don't know what Canaveral means in Spanish, but it was, that was the original name of that area. But they kept the honoring of President Kennedy by naming it the Space Center. But,
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Killing two birds with one stone. I was just talking to, on the air about science fiction becoming science fact. And Jules Verne, when he wrote Journey to the Moon,
Mhm.
he did all this math and everything, and he put his launch site within about 200 yards of Cape Canaveral.
because he was looking at how the Earth turns. People forget
The slingshot effect and all
it's
that.
an additional oomph to get the rocket where you want to go. A lot of people,
It's going 25,000 miles an hour first.
but the fact that he did all that calculation.
Yeah.
Those
is
flat
interesting.
earthers don't get it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is interesting. You mentioned the thing with Nikola Tesla and some of the things that he had figured out. But and you were talking a moment ago about the computer,
Right.
and at the late great Aerospace Education Center out by the airport, we had
I remember
had a
that.
temporary exhibit. They had the computer that was on Apollo 11. And as you say, it didn't have the power of our phones,
Right.
but it was about the size of a big dictionary. And
what's a dictionary?
But that was a work of much work by NASA scientists to miniaturize that much computing power. No telling how much it costs to build that and get it. You could build one the size of a house that would do that computing, but they needed to get it tiny. And of course, the rest is history.
I mean, IBM was called Big Blue for years because they built one of the first major computers, and it took up like 3 rooms. And
well, when I was in college,
you had all the punch cards.
I shouldn't say this, but when I was in college, when I was at Hendrix, we had one computer on campus, and it used punch cards.
Yeah,
and you had a stack. Wasn't a computer person back then, but my friends that had them, they'd have a stack about 4 inches deep of these punch cards. If people are wondering what a punch card is, think of a check that you get in the mail.
Think of Florida 2000.
Yeah. But if you dropped your stack of cards and they got out of order, you were in a lot of trouble.
You're screwed up. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, they're leaving Val next Wednesday. They're taking 4 astronauts.
Right.
They're going to fly around the moon and come back. It's kind of a test drive, so to speak.
Well, they did the same thing with Apollo 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. And Apollo 10 was, of course, we know that Apollo 11, you remember the Eagle has landed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forget what the capsule was called, nickname, but they nicknamed and Apollo 10 was Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the lunar module, they didn't land it.
Snoopy.
They took it, was Snoopy.
Yeah.
And they had a cartoon of basically Snoopy, who was, rather whimsical. He just went ahead and landed. So.
Yeah. And he was sitting on his doghouse.
Right.
Going around the moon. Right. It's so crazy, but I think.
I believe 11 was Columbia.
Okay.
No, I don't know. No, Columbia was a shuttle. Val. Yeah, but I don't remember. It was a whimsical name. You may have been Columbia but of course we knew we were going to the moon. They didn't come up with something whimsical for that one.
That's the one it's at the Aerospace Smithsonian in DC.
That's the one they got?
Yeah, it's a pod.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. Look, I watched The Right Stuff and all of those movies about the space program, but when I went to the Smithsonian and they had the Mercury capsule there
in the main hall, they call this the milestones of flight. You can get a photograph of the Wright flyer, the Wright brothers plane,
right,
and the Apollo 11 capsule. You can get it in the same picture.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like literally one of the coolest Smithsonians I've been to. It's neat.
I was there the day it opened.
Oh, really?
I was at the door
Wow.
and went in July 1st, 1976.
Dang.
Another place you should go
I was too.
is they have the Smithsonian has many of the planes and the things that are just too big to have down on the
Oh,
wall.
yeah.
They're out at Dulles Airport.
I've been there.
The Udvar Hazy Annex, and that's where the Enola Gay is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's
where the Blackbird is at.
Yeah, they've got the SR-71. They have interestingly, they have a Concorde. The supersonic airliner in there. It was a British Airways Concorde, and under its left wing is the first FedEx Falcon jet.
Oh,
And my friend Lucian Talak, who was one of the founders of Federal Express, and that plane was built in Little Rock. A lot of people know. And I was visiting. First time I went there, I called him, and I said, "Lucian, I'm here." I told him, I said, "Here, I'm right next to the original plane." I said, "But it's like tail number FX008." And I said, "Why is it number 8? And this is a great story. He said, so Fred Smith,
Right.
He the co-founder. He said, Fred said that we didn't want anyone to know it was our only plane. So we made it tail number 8. I think it was 8 or 6, but it was not number 1.
Let me add on to that,
Yeah.
that I have been at radio stations when they still had newsrooms,
Mhm.
and they would send you out the station news car, and it would say like 10 on it. And you didn't have 1 through 9. you said 10 so that when the listeners saw you go by, they figured you had 9
You had
more
9
like
other
it.
cars running around.
So it
Find
made you
all of them.
bigger. I remember
Hey,
that.
That's why they were successful.
That's crazy.
But got to meet Fred Smith many, many years before that. I mean, literally, I got to say, "Hi, I'm Mark Johnson." He said, "I'm Fred Smith."
Okay.
Well, where are you from? What do you do? I said, "Well, I have a company called Federal Express." I said, "What do y'all do?"
Yeah.
And that was before they'd start the whole package thing. He said, "Well, we're building the Alaska pipeline. If you need a drill bit in the North Slope of Alaska and your bit breaks, it costs you $100,000 a day to be down. They'll call us. We'll go pick up the drill bit and fly it to Alaska." And I said, "That sounds like a great business." He said, "Yeah." I'll finish that story another time.
It's gone a little bit bigger.
I believe so.
And Federal
30,000 people in Shelby County work for Federal Express.
And they could have worked here
And they
in
could have been
Pulaski
right out there.
County. That's exactly
Except
right.
for the lack of vision by some of our previous
Founding
leaders.
fathers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just the way it goes. Fast baseball story before we take our break because we're going to be behind. I used to go watch AAA ball in San Antonio when I was stationed at Kelly Air Force.
Were they the
Base.
Missions in those days? They
Yeah.
changed their name.
Yeah, it was the Missions. It was the Missions. And I was sitting up there, and the players were coming up to the fence and signing autographs and stuff. And this is AAA. This is you should make the major league if somebody in front of you doesn't, freeze you out or whatever.
Right.
And I'm sitting there in the stands right behind home plate, and I looked down at the dugout. And there was a guy at the end of the dugout, not inside the dugout, outside the dugout, sitting in a lawn chair. And my boys were down getting autographs. I walked down and got them. I said, "Come with me. Come right now." And they came right along with me, and I took them to the end of the dugout. And I said, "I don't mean to bother you, Mr. Koufax, but do you have a moment to talk to me?"
Oh, that's right. They were the Dodgers affiliate.
Yes.
I remember that.
It was Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
Koufax. And I'm just going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And my boys don't have any idea.
Just like my Ted Williams story.
Who
who
they're meeting, and he signed their baseball mitts. I hope they got their mitts still. Well, John doesn't, but I hope Greg does.
Well, that's
quite a collectible.
the things you get to do with minor league baseball and see. You weren't living here then, but the Dodgers sent. Well, I guess it was San Antonio. They sent Fernando Valenzuela down for a rehab or whatever.
Yeah.
And they played the Travelers at Ray Winder Field.
And he pitched, huh?
He pitched, and the place was full. And this is when Bill Valentine was the general manager. And he roped off about 10 feet inside the warning track. And you could go out and sit cross-legged out in the outfield. And so I come in, and I was always kidding Valentine. I said, "Bill, what the hell are you going to do if someone hits a ball in there?" He goes, like I was an idiot. Of course, he used to be an American League umpire.
Yeah.
He says, "It's a ground rule double."
That's good.
But that's the biggest crowd I ever saw.
Let's get our first break in. We'll be
Okay.
back. We got Mark Johnson, state senator, here in the Dave Elswick studio. We'll be back in a moment.
Things don't change. Can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. This is 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your day with Dave Elswick in the morning, breaking down the stories shaping Arkansas and the nation and hearing what you have to say. Then in the afternoon, join Doc Washburn as he takes on the biggest headlines, asks the tough questions, and opens the phones for real conversation. Because on 101.1, The Answer, talk radio means your voice matters. Call in, sound off, be a part of the discussion at 501-401-1011. Plus, hear from some of the biggest names in talk radio. CNN Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, bringing you smart analysis, strong opinions, and the debate everyone's talking about. Local voices, national perspective, and your chance to be heard. 501-401-1011. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
101.1 The Answer. Weather.
Well, it just doesn't get much better than this weather-wise. High today of 84 with plenty of sunshine, 52 for the low tonight, then all the way up to 86 with sunshine tomorrow.
Now back to the Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 The Answer.
All right, 26 minutes after 9. And I've got in my studio today, he's a good friend of the station. He's a good friend of mine. Mark Johnson was a state senator. And I asked him to come on, and I'm going to get in and talk politics with him. But, that's going to come up in the next half hour, just to let you know. Right now, since we're pretty much the same age, we can talk about our youth. And
that's right.
And we can talk about the Apollo launch and all that. That's why I enjoy being a talk show host now. I've always enjoyed it, but the guy who has Talkers Magazine every month told me, he says, you're a good talk show host now, Dave, but you'll become a great one when you turn about 55. And that's because of all your experiences. I mean,
you don't run out of material.
No,
you've got a lot of stuff.
And
like that.
I can honestly say I sit here and I watch them argue on the floor of the Senate, and they're arguing about something I've already seen them argue about.
Some things never change.
Some things never change. That's the God's honest truth. And it was a joke when he was saying that he spied Ted Williams at a launch. And I said Strom Thurmond, and that is a great joke.
One thing I forgot to mention, the reason Ted Williams was there, is he was a Air
World
Force
War
pilot.
II.
He was John Glenn's wingman in Korea.
Really? Now that's interesting.
Both P-51 Mustang pilots.
Wow.
Isn't that's why he was it, because he was John Glenn's wingman. But it's a small world, isn't it?
It's just like,
and he missed a
amazing.
few years when he was in the military that he might have hit over 700 home runs. He might have broken Babe Ruth's record. He hit over 500.
Yeah.
But he missed 2 or 3 years because of the military.
I was lucky enough that he was still playing when I was a kid, and I saw him play against the White Sox. Look, I'm a Cubs fan. I hate the Sox. Went to Comiskey Park only because my dad wanted to see Ted Williams play. Mm-hmm. So we went there. My best story is my father was a Yankee fan, and when he was just got out of the Army after World War II, and he was in New York, and so he wanted to go see Ruth play. I mean, this is years ago, a lot of years ago, and he kept looking for Yankee Stadium, said he could never find it, and he was at a bar, and he walked out of the bar, and he finally grabbed a guy by the arm and said, "Where is Yankee Stadium?" He says, "Right across the street." He was right across the whole time. He was across the street. My dad was drunk as a skunk and didn't realize it.
No.
Wow.
Just another reason why you shouldn't drink.
And my father, when he ran, he looked like a cartoon, where their legs are moving really, really fast and they're not moving. That's the way my father ran. He would stand in one place if he ran and be running. And he loved it that his son loved baseball and I could fly on the bases. And boy, he thought that was the greatest thing. But yeah, look, everybody knows listening to the show is I love baseball. All right, let's join the news. It's in progress. We'll be back in a moment.
28 points. The NASDAQ Composite Index ahead to 72. More details, srnnews.com.
Hey, I am Brant, and her name is Sherry, and she's a friend and a colleague of mine, and we were just praying for her, actually, because she had a major surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is Medishare. That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like with Medishare and your healthcare bills?
You know what? It was seamless. And that's such a blessing when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in, and it's just what you need. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. People love Medishare and saving tons of money. The typical family, I'm fond of saying, could save $500 a month.
I am so thankful for Medishare. It's so different. And I mean different in a very, very good way, Brant.
It is a good different. Call right now. They're so easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlowe podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlowe podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Democrats stole the 2020 election and it almost destroyed our country. Now career politician Kim Hammer is helping them do it again. He led the charge on Act 350 that punished any county that dare switch from unsecured voting machines to secure hand-marked paper ballots and arrogantly said he has no concerns about our election process or equipment. Hammer is actively fighting against President Trump's election security plan. Here's Trump.
All Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID.
Who stands with Trump? Brian Norris. Brian Norris is a tough Army combat veteran, true political outsider, and dedicated conservative running to secure our elections. Norris will fight side by side with President Trump for paper ballots, hand counts, and audits to prevent stolen elections. For secure elections, vote Brian Norris by March 31st. Brian Norris, the America First choice for secure elections. Paid for by Restore Your Vote. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hugh Hewitt is optimistic about negotiations.
Not many people putting up their hand to replace Lauren Johnny, I think. There was a period of time in the 80s when I was in the Reagan administration when the Soviet leader would keep dying. Brezhnev died. Then Andropov died. Then Chernenko died. Then we got Gorbachev. So maybe eventually we will get someone with whom President Trump can deal.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Secular at 3 on 101.1. The Answer. The Dave Elswick Show is back. 101.1. The Answer.
All right, back with you. I promised you we talk politics, and there is.
Spring is in the air, Dave.
Yeah,
we can't help but think about
There's
baseball.
There's a story that I want you to talk about. Fiscal session is coming up.
Yes, sir.
What date does it start?
Probably the 8th. It'll be the first week in April. We're the plan, and again, plans can change.
Yeah, of course.
Is that we will be on the floor in session Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of every week. We might be working Monday and Fridays in committees, but the idea is that a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to our budget and our fiscal session, I would assume I'd rather we do away with fiscal session. Too often it's a rubber stamp of what we did in the previous general session on the budget items. But every year we have to pass appropriation bills.
Right.
And if we don't, the state shuts down. Of course, it's like the situation with Homeland Security right now. But and you remember a couple of years ago, we didn't pass the game and fish budget, and we had to come back in special session in June. They would have not have money are we? Is everybody hearing
that's
that?
crosstalk.
Okay.
It's the stuff that's coming down the line.
But we did pass it, and of course we had the budget. But much of this is housekeeping. I mean, they're just appropriation bills. The details we've ironed out, generally in the committee, the Joint Budget Committee, but we have a lot of bills to pass because every agency has this appropriation
Correct.
bill, and we have to do that. So, and it's much of it is non-controversial, but every now and then things get controversial. And it's important to know that with a few exceptions, in Arkansas, you have to have 75% of the vote to pass an appropriation
Right.
bill. And this is our 1874 Constitution that had some biases against spending because they had gone through Reconstruction when the carpetbaggers were funneling money into their own pockets.
Yeah,
So they
walking away with the state's wealth.
So they put these safeguards in. That's why the prison appropriation didn't pass last year, because it took 27 votes in the Senate. I think the most they got was 21. But much of it, though, is just it's housekeeping stuff. We must do this. I wish we'd go back to the old fiscal biennium system, but we have to get a supermajority of legislators to agree to that. We'd have to do another constitutional amendment to change it back.
Didn't Jason Raypert hold up some money to a department because of something that was happening at that
Well,
time?
there's a lot of things you can do, Dave. One is a legislator can put a hold on an agency's budget temporarily. If that appropriation bill is coming up, and I've done it before.
Mhm.
Back during COVID, we had some serious threats to hold up the health department budget because of Dr. Smith and Dr. Romero's draconian orders that they were bypassing the General Assembly. They were basically, the governor and the health department was passing laws,
Right.
essentially. So there's a process, but you can't hold it up for the whole session. Within a certain point in the session, it's automatically released. But that way you can call that agency in and say, hey, I've got some problems with it. So that happens more than you would know. In the case of Senator Raypert you were talking about, I don't remember which one that was, but that one was something that rose to the level of being news.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's I'm going to hold their budget until they come talk to me about some particular problem that maybe a constituent's having, or that they know of, and the agency's not being as responsive as that legislator thinks they should.
Yeah, I just remember there was something going on about that. So,
But it doesn't have to be related to the actual
No,
appropriation. It's just
not at all.
It's one of the powers of being a legislator. During session, we're very powerful people. As soon as we sine die, we're just ordinary citizens again.
Yeah. So bottom line is this: is that the fiscal session's coming up.
Mhm.
The big argument that has been going on since the end of the general session has been the prison.
That's right.
And
let me say for the record,
Go ahead.
I voted for that appropriation 5 times. I didn't vote on Franklin County. I didn't vote on a particular location. I voted on $750 million to fund it. And it's up to the board and the executive branch to figure out where that's going to be. Obviously, there's some differences of opinion and
Strong differences.
very strong, and it's bled over into electoral politics and all that. By the way, my new seatmate, because Senator Stubblefield was my seatmate,
That
and
was
my
so
dear friend,
sad.
very dear friend, and Senator Simon, who won the special election, has
Uh-huh.
now been sworn in. He is now my seatmate, at least through the end of this year, when we'll reshuffle everything.
Right.
But, so he'll be sitting next to me during fiscal session. And very nice guy, thrilled to get to know him. I think he'll do a good job. But this is not resolved because, as I said, 27 votes
Yeah.
can be a pretty high bar. And some people are saying there's some other locations should be considered. I don't know where the governor is on doing that. But I tell people, I voted for the Protect Arkansas Act, which says we're, among other things, that we're going to have some minimum sentences that you might get served. Now, I mean, you're sentenced for 20 years or before the Protect Act, and you might serve 2 or 3. Well, that's ridiculous.
Right.
The Judge Isaac Parker, the hanging judge, who didn't really hang that many men, considering how many came through his court, he said it is not the threat of punishment that's the deterrent to crime. It's the certainty of punishment
Right.
that's the deterrent to crime. And we needed strong sentences, and we passed a bill to do it. Well, if you're going to lock them up, you got to have a place to lock them up. So I voted to fund wherever we put those,
and not in the
bills.
county jails.
And people need to understand how this affects them, Dave. When you've got felons that should be at Tucker or Cummins or wherever backed up in the county jails, then that leaves no room for the misdemeanor criminals that are stealing the Amazon packages off your front porch.
Yeah.
So when you see petty crime, the revolving door of these people, they come in, they're arrested, they're booked, and then they're turned loose, and they go offend again. This is why. If it's the certainty of punishment that's the deterrent. And so this is, people may think this is an academic thing when they watch all this fight they're having over where the prison's going to be. No. If we don't get the real bad guys in the state prison, then there's not going to be room for the fairly bad guys that are, as I said, stealing the Amazon packages off your front porch or breaking into your car or whatever.
Right. Right. So how how many days is supposed to, is it usually like a week? Is that what you're looking
Well,
at?
it's 30 days roughly,
Okay.
but it's, we try to get it done as quickly as possible. And as I said, most of the items, probably 95% of the items will be non-controversial. Obviously the prison is going to be a big one. We also, we have some new powers, and again, fiscal session is supposed to be narrowly defined so you don't go off on tangents. But
It's supposed to be something fiscal.
well, I thought it was a bad idea in the first place, and it was. That's a story for another day.
Right.
But sometimes things just kind of happen. There was
It's
a legislator
politics.
that liked the idea. He proposed a constitutional amendment that said appropriations can only be for 1 year. And so when it comes out on the ballot, people say, well, I don't want those guys being able to appropriate money for more than 1 year, so I'm going to vote for that. What they were really voting for is annual sessions.
Right.
Now, I could see maybe having an annual session, but for it just to be on budget items, we can always be called in with the governor if there's a fiscal issue we need to fix, just like we did the game and fish appropriation,
Right.
2 years ago. But I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, we have interim committees that can take care of a lot of the administrative part of the legislative branch, and we also have our fiscal biennium, which we can tweak if we need to move some money around. Now, the big question is, when we get all this stuff figured out and get our appropriations done and everything, is what's our projected surplus is going to be? Because
Right.
I think everybody, there may be a few Democrats that don't, but even a lot of the Democrats, we want to cut taxes. And of course, our goal for most Republicans is to move toward eliminating the income tax. Another issue that will always be there is to lower the used car tax.
Absolutely.
And but everyone should remember that I know you have Ryan Norris on here
Yep.
regularly talking about the pathway to zero.
Yep.
That AFP is working on. I'm a big supporter of that. But this is part of it. We keep lowering the income tax. And this is not just getting money back into people's pockets, which is certainly important and the right thing to do. But this is an economic development thing. I mean, if we were still at 7%, our economy wouldn't be booming like it is. We're sandwiched between Texas and Tennessee that have no income tax at all. Industries are coming to these these states, and new local businesses are expanding. I mean, Elon Musk literally got mad at California and moved Tesla to Austin, Texas.
It's amazing. I've driven past it now about 3 times. That is a huge facility.
And the fact is that Tennessee, that's not going to really be a big deal, but they got the Ford EV plant.
Right.
And a lot of this, people forget that people that are going to work in these places are now making decisions on where these huge investments are located. And the reason is they're going to get there. I won't say the company, but I yesterday met with an executive of a large Arkansas company that's national.
Right.
And he told me about the shock he had. He was transferred at one time from Washington State that doesn't have an income tax to Minnesota that has a high income
Oh,
tax.
yeah.
And how unhappy he was about that. And he's thrilled that we're lowering, now that he's in Arkansas, that we're lowering the income tax. So it's an economic development thing as much as it is putting money back in the pockets of our citizens. So but there are other taxes we may be looking at. A lot of citizens write me about the property tax. And I remember that that's not a state tax, that's a local tax.
Yeah, Robin Lundstrom has been on my show many a time talking about property tax.
She gets the same emails and phone calls, I'm sure, that I do. And but Arkansas's property tax compared to Texas is relatively low. But again, they don't have an income tax down there, and it's I'm hoping and praying that our surpluses in the state that we can responsibly cut the income tax some more. Again, just a few years ago, it was 7% top rate. And then we're now at 3.9%. If we can get it down to say 3.49%, we will have cut it in half. And that's the direction we want to go. And as Tim Griffin once said, 0 is our North Star. That's where
Right.
we're trying to head.
So what about, the feeling about Mississippi's trying to get rid of their income
all
tax?
our neighboring states are trying to do the same thing.
Oklahoma's trying to do the thing. Now,
They're flattening the rate.
3% is what they got in
Yeah.
Mississippi now, right?
And I think that's correct. We had Grover Norquist with
Yeah,
Americans for
he
Tax
stopped
Reform
by. We
here,
sat and
and
talked.
when he was here a week or two ago. And Grover has a map. I should have brought it in. It's probably still in the back seat of my car, but it's a map that shows each state and what those. He probably gave you a copy.
I think I
of
can
it
pick
too.
it up over in the little
Yeah.
stack that I have over there.
Yeah, but the thing is that we look around and then we see these states that are having serious out migrations, like California and New York, and a lot of it's and then instead of trying to moderate their tax increase, they're doubling down. They're raising taxes.
Yeah.
And it's just not. I know you're liberals. I know you believe that money should go in the government. It belongs to the government, and they just let you have what you want to keep, which I don't agree with. But the fact is, they should look at their own results and see that people are voting with their feet, and they're leaving.
Yeah, a lot of people think that you got to have all that tax money. I say, first you need to make sure that you understand what is the role of government.
That's where we conservatives disagree with them. We want government to understand its proper role.
Yeah, and its limitations.
And I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe in no government. We have certain needs, but the Constitution spells out those responsibilities.
Well, Jefferson had it right. The smallest government is the best government. And
Well,
I agree with that.
I'm a believer in federalism, and I believe that and some people think that government is a hierarchy, that the federal government is on top, and then the states, and then the cities and counties, the locals. Remember that the states are the basic unit of government. The states created the local governments, and the states created the national government. And when you understand that, that's why the 9th and 10th Amendment are there.
Why they're so important as well.
I think the word that used, this may have been Madison that said, but that the federal powers are finite and defined, and the state powers are unlimited. Basically, if it's not exactly a state, a federal responsibility. It's saved for the states and the people. That's in the 10th Amendment.
There's enumerated powers, and then there's the powers that they think they got.
The implied powers, or at least they think so.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, talk further with our guest, and of course, State Senator Mark Johnson is going to be here with us on the Dave Elswick Show. Stay tuned.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on the dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The conservative voice of Arkansas. The Dave Elswick Show on 101.1. The Answer.
All right, we continue last segment with State Senator Mark Johnson. Mark, how is it going as far as the legislature is concerned with these large computer
data centers?
Yeah, data centers.
Well,
we had some problem with it, 2 years ago now?
Well, we had the crypto mining thing, and people need to separate the two. They are not the same. The crypto mining people tried to piggyback onto some legislation that we did to provide regulation and incentives for data centers, which are major economic development drivers, where the crypto mining is not. It doesn't create many jobs, and the ones they create aren't very good. And we had noise problems and a lot of things. But the data centers are coming. The thing that I hope we can avoid, and this is part of my, and I was in the minority on this. I voted against the bill that Entergy pushed to put a rider on your electric bill.
Let me personally thank you for voting against
you're welcome. And I think people are going to start seeing it. I used the analogy on the Senate floor. I said, this is like you want a new truck. You need a new truck. And so you go to your Ford dealer and you say, I want a new F-150. He says, well, Mark, we're not going to have an F-150 anymore. We're going to have an F-160, and it's much better. But here, sign here, and we'll get you an F-150. Oh, and it'll be 3 years or 4 years. And in the meantime, here's your payment book. You need to start making payments right away on it. So it was a cost shift of the building of the power plants from the company and their stockholders and their lenders to the ratepayers. And that's a fundamental change in the way we've done utility growth in over 100 years. Part of this, and President Trump has said this, that he's all for data centers, but they need to pay for their own generation. And the thing is that, bless you, babe. The thing is that the data centers are over and above what the general public and general businesses need for their utility needs, their electric needs. So they should pay for their own generation. Now, should that be part of a general power plant that's going to be, yeah, that's okay. But don't shift the burden to the homes and homeowners and their home to pay for this other business's energy. And that's the potential scandal here. Now, there's a lot of special interests that profit from these things, including, of course, the utilities themselves, but also the people that sell the equipment and build the plants and build the data centers and all that. They want us to, go, build. And we need these things because the electric demand, even without all the data centers,
go up,
is still going up. I mean, we haven't had a new power plant since Arkansas was 2 million people. We're now 3 million people. Yeah. So yeah, you got to, not to mention all the things in our homes that use electricity that, when you and I were kids, we didn't have, a lot of cities 100 years ago, they had electricity, but like at 9 o'clock, they'd turn the generators off.
Yep.
I mean, people would go to bed. They needed a kerosene lamp at night. I mean, my mother told stories of that. But now we have tremendous, of course, we have air conditioning and we have all the things. And that's all good. But recognize that electrical demand, even without the data centers, was still going to be growing exponentially.
That was the main reason that the South has grown to where it is now, and that is air conditioning. If we never gotten air conditioning, a lot of people that live up north would not want to come down to the South to live here.
Well, that's why when they built the Astrodome, it was the first air-conditioned stadium. And they called it the eighth wonder of the world. And I never forget going to a ball game in the Astrodome, because that was the most amazing thing on earth, that you're sitting in a 72-degree air-conditioned building watching baseball.
When I was a kid, I remember, it didn't get real hot in northern Indiana, except during September. It would get hot. I mean, real hot. And you suffered. I mean, you really did. I remember laying on the linoleum floor in front of a screen door with a box fan trying to stay cool. And, it wasn't fun. So Mom would break out the 50 cents for myself and my brother, so $1, and send us to the movie theater. And I still remember the signs on the marquees that said ice cold air.
That was a big thing for movie theaters. They were the first places that had air conditioning.
It was a sales technique.
Right. One thing to mention about energy thing, I'm the Senate chair of the Joint Energy Committee. We're learning a lot about other forms of generation. Nuclear, especially the small modular reactors.
That excites me.
They're coming. We need to accelerate that. It's the cleanest form of energy by far. It's totally safe. And even some of the leftists that used to oppose it have come around and seen and now support nuclear power. We need it. It's critical. And we need to do everything we can to accelerate it to meet this demand that we're talking about.
Are you up against the clock for something else?
No, sir.
You stay around?
Sure.
All right.
Around for a little
You'll
while.
be with us the next hour here on the Dave Elswick Show. News is next.
News breaks fast. We break it down faster. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A U.S.-authored peace proposal has been forwarded to Iran.
The details of this plan remain in question, but officials have told the Associated Press that Pakistan, which has been one of the countries trying to get a diplomatic route to the end of the conflict, has transmitted it to Tehran. Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey have been key in trying to negotiate a settlement to the war.
Correspondent John Gambrell, Iran now says it will allow non-hostile ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, subject to its approval. The Homeland Security funding impasse has yet to be resolved. It's complicating air travel and making life very difficult for thousands of federal workers.
A dispute in Congress over funding the Department of Homeland Security has held up the paychecks of TSA officers for close to 6 weeks now. And some officers, like Taylor Desert in Indiana, say they've had to rely on food banks.
I never thought I would be in a position to where working for the federal government, I would need to go to a food bank.
Sarah Estelle is Chief Outreach Officer at Gleaners Food Bank of Indiana.
In Indianapolis Airport, we have about 300 TSA workers who have been working without pay for some time with no end in sight at this point. So Gleaners is doing special distributions for these workers.
I'm Donna Water.
A New Mexico jury is ordering Facebook and Instagram's parent Meta to pay $375 million after finding that its platforms harm children's mental health. Meta says it will appeal the verdict. CPAC, the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, kicking off today in the Dallas suburb of Grapevine. Stocks are sharply higher on Wall Street as oil prices fall. The Dow is up 397 points. The Nasdaq Composite Index ahead 264. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen says she's ready for a third term, even though her Social Democrats won fewer votes in this week's election than at any time in more than 100 years.
Neither side has required 90 seats to have a majority in Parliament, so it's not quite clear what form the next coalition government will take. There's a small party in the centre for the moderates, and they have 14 seats. They are led by Lars Løkke Rasmussen. He's a former Prime Minister himself. He is now positioned with a lot of power to steer the course of what this next government might look like.
The BBC's Adrian Murray. British police have arrested 2 men over an arson attack that destroyed 4 ambulances from a Jewish charity. They're treating the fire as an anti-Semitic hate crime. News and analysis at townhall.com. From the minors to the majors, a long-awaited umpiring change is finally set to debut when Big League Baseball's season gets going this week.
Robot umpires are coming to the big leagues in 2026. The automated ball strike system will be introduced in the form of a challenge system in which the human umpire makes each call, which can be appealed to the computer. Robot umpires have been tested in the minor leagues since 2019, with recent testing done at AAA, MLB spring training, and at this summer's All-Star game in Atlanta. Success rates have hovered around 50% in the minors. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And the Major League Baseball season opens today on a limited basis. There is a single nighttime game. The New York Yankees will visit the San Francisco
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Something big is happening, and you need to be in the know. Operation Epic Fury is here, and the only place to get all the details. Stay tuned and listen closely for updates on Operation Epic Fury on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
And we move on. Last hour. Now it's the last hour already. The show has gone fast today.
Fast.
It has been going quickly.
Well, we always have something to talk about, Dave.
Well,
Both
I'm just telling
policy
you,
and in general.
Val and I got into, I thought, a really great discussion about why is Elon Musk and why is the government saying that we're going to be a little slower on Mars, but a little faster on the moon, because being able to fire off the Mars mission from the moon is going to save a huge amount of money.
Well, what is it? The moon is 1/6 the gravity of the Earth.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to figure out that it takes less fuel to break that gravitational pull than
To
it
get
does
out of the
that of Earth.
gravitational pull of the Earth.
Yeah.
And the reason they developed the Atlas rocket was that it could get it up to 25,000 miles an hour. That's
Right.
what it had to get.
Yeah. It's the whole thing is just fascinating.
It is.
How they,
Oh, if you don't think so, you're crazy.
yeah.
Something wrong with you if you don't think the whole thing is like us going to Mars and the
Well,
moon.
and a lot of people, younger people, don't realize that the tremendous breakthroughs we've had, especially in consumer electronics, these cell phones, all much of that basic research was accelerated by the space program.
The transistor.
Absolutely, and you know, you remember tube type
I do.
radios.
Yes,
and
I do.
You turn them on and you wait.
You wait
If they still warm up, and people don't know that's what the word warm up came from. Well, we got to let warm up. Well, you literally did. The tubes had to warm up.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and I was like, yeah, I used to watch news and stuff with my grandpa, you know, and we were talking about how Reagan and Carter, and I was like, I paid attention to all that when I was younger. You know, I'm 52, so I paid attention, and I was like, yeah, but also I was also my grandpa's turner, knob turner.
Oh, switch when click, click, click,
yeah,
click.
yeah. Or move the antenna.
Yeah,
but
the
the
rabbit
other,
ears.
I was thinking the other day about. Remember, we used to put aluminum foil on the rabbit ears.
Yep.
I don't know if it helped or not.
I don't either.
That was a big deal. Boy, that's going to put some aluminum foil on.
Here's
My
what I
dad
know
thought
it
it
helped. My dad thought it helped because he had it on there, and then he had me standing holding it up in the air.
Or he'd go up on the roof.
Oh, Lord.
When we had one of those on the roof, you know, the
Yeah.
crazy
Oh, yeah.
ones,
Yeah.
and he'd move it. He'd be like, "How's it now?" I mean, I
We
was like,
still have one. My wife won't let me take it off the house.
Are you-
I don't know why. Maybe
Nostalgia.
she doesn't. She, you know, and that's the thing. It was analog. It wasn't digital.
That's
now,
correct.
even over the air is digital.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, you know, you remember the little fine tune knob for you'd put it on a channel and then you had to fine tune.
Yes, I do.
And people now it's you hit 7, it goes to 7, and that's it.
That's correct.
You know, you either get it or you don't get it.
But there's subsets now. I mean, when
Oh, yeah.
on radio,
I guess that's like single sideband
Yeah.
on
you
radios.
can be listening to my show on 101.1, All right.
right?
And that's that little sliver right there. It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I remember a lot of people will remember this. When you just had ABC, NBC, CBS, it was UHF,
Yeah, I
ultra
was
high
going to say
frequency.
UHF.
And then in Chicago, WTTW came, and it was VHF.
I thought VHF was the one that was 2 through 14, but
You may be right. It's ultra
but
high frequency.
UHF was, and we got 16.
And so you had that little
Yeah.
round antenna that hooked onto your
The
antenna.
yeah.
Oh, the
you know.
round, yeah, the round,
round
one.
Yeah.
Yep, with the little dial on it at
That's
the top.
correct.
It was 30. What we had our first UHF session, we had 16 and 38 here in Little Rock. And I don't know what the range is. They didn't have as long a range as the VHF station.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy because, and I lived in St. Louis when I was growing up too, and here in Arkansas, I was back and forth. But we got a Chicago station, and I can't remember. This is where I watched the wrestling and the Three Stooges that night. It was a Chicago.
It may have been WGN.
It was WGN.
That was one of the first
Yep.
stations that went on cable systems.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a super station.
Right.
Yep.
right.
It
What they
wasn't
called
cable
it.
though at the time.
And they had the Cubs,
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Yep.
which was interesting to you, of course.
I'll
Yeah.
never forget. It's been about 15, 20 years now that Wrigley sold off the Cubs to another owner, and I'll never forget that because they took the Cubs off of WGN, and
that was a staple.
I could sit at night and pick up WGN down here in Little Rock.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
really?
my dad got
Oh,
it
yeah.
in Jonesboro too.
They're 50,000 watt clear channel.
Yeah.
You know, everybody get out of the way. You know,
Oh, you mean on the radio?
on the radio. No, I'm
Okay,
not
yeah.
talking TV now.
Yeah.
I'm talking. Yeah, it was cable that made WGN and WTTW. That was Turner's.
Turner, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he created that, and of course owned the Braves.
But
But
the
I'm
Braves
talking like in
never
the
got as
80s is when
popular.
I was in St. Louis and we got W.
Yeah.
There was no, there wasn't cable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I remember watching Jack Brickhouse many a year. I remember him doing the play-by-play for the Cubs.
But before Harry Carey came.
Yeah,
Oh,
before
Harry
Harry Carey. And on the radio, it was Lou Boudreau. And
Well, you know why Harry Carey left the Cardinals, don't you?
couldn't keep him sober past the fifth inning.
Well, this is I didn't make this up. I read this in a legitimate publication. He had an affair with one of the Bush family members' wife.
What?
Oh,
the
my
Anheuser-Busch?
God.
The Anheuser-Busch family?
Yeah.
Really?
That owned the team
Yeah.
and owned the.
I didn't know that he was there. When was he there?
Oh, he was with the Cardinals for a
Well,
long
for
time
years,
before he
yeah.
went. He was the preceded Jack Buck.
Yes.
Well, that's what I remember Jack Buck.
Well, and Jack Buck was something else. And if you remember Jim Elder, Jim and Jack Buck were good friends.
See, I used to go for field trips when I was in school. We'd go to baseball games. You know, it was crazy. Like you don't do that anymore. But I mean,
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the play-by-play people are not celebrities, but not like they were back then.
right.
No, not like a Jack Brickhouse, not
Yeah.
like a Jack Buck.
Right.
Jack Buck was liked in Chicago as much as he was in St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah.
He's just evidently just a prince of Phil. And I like Joe Buck. I like his son. I think he does a great job. He and the quarterback for the Cowboys. I'm blanking out. Troy Aikman.
Oh, okay.
I think they're a great team. They're not Pat Summerall and John Madden, but they're pretty good.
I got to tell you
Madden.
what, Madden was a great football announcer.
He was hilarious.
Because he would say exactly what the average fan was thinking. You know, well, why did you do that dumb
He was like
thing?
the Trump of football.
Meredith was the same way.
Do you remember when Keith Jackson and Coach Broyles did
Yes.
college football?
Yes.
And I'm a fan of Coach Broyles. Love Coach Broyles personally, but he was a really good color commentator, and he didn't get nasty or anything, but he could analyze what was going on on the field probably better than any color analyst that I ever heard do football.
Yeah, because he coached the game.
But I mean, there's a lot of them that became color analyst, but
Yeah.
he was good at it. He was really good. And of course, he had that Georgia accent. You know how he talked, Coach Brawls,
Yeah.
but he was, he did, they were a great team.
Anyway, I just, that's, how do I always get myself talking about
Back
sports?
to baseball.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
It's springtime,
Yeah,
Dave. That's why.
what it is.
That's why if this were in the middle of winter,
in the air.
we'd be hardcore into football.
It's why when
and it would be
when pitchers and catchers report, I always start my show that day off with Abbott and Costello on who's on first.
the classic.
Yes, absolutely. I mean that goes along with baseball.
Right.
I mean that's a great piece of work.
I
that they
guess
did.
that doesn't play in Europe very well. Because nobody understands it.
Right? Like I
No,
don't. Some of
they
these
watch
kids these days don't get
Screwball.
it either. These
Yeah.
kids these days don't get it. They didn't watch Ma and Pa Kettle. They didn't watch all that Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges. They didn't. We had 2 channels
Jack
that late
Benny.
at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch Jack.
Now they
Benny.
have any channel they want, like all
I
hours.
think you're right, Val. I think that has to do with there's too many choices. And I'm of the generation that I'd get up early in the morning and watch the test pattern until the show started.
There you go.
Or you knew
The
in the middle of the
Indian-
night it
the
was time to
Indian
go to
head.
bed.
Why it had an Indian on it, I
I don't know,
know.
but they had the Indian head on it, and they would all when they sign off at night, they would always play the national anthem.
That's right.
And then the stations in Chicago would there was a poem that they recited
Oh, really?
about it's the one that the Air Force uses, and
The one that reached out and touched the face of God. Yeah. It's called High Flight.
That's
the name
it.
of that poem.
They would play that, and then the Indian head appeared.
And then you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And then the VCR came along.
You go to bed. That's the whole point. You're
Yeah.
supposed to go
But
to bed.
what if I was a night owl? So my dad was a DJ. So
Oh,
I would go
okay.
in my room. He would bring me those top 40s home.
Uh-huh.
So I'd go in my room and make mixtapes.
When you said you brought top 40, were these cassettes?
Casey
or-
Kasem, they were records.
Yeah,
They were
Casey
45s? Yeah. 45.
Well, it was for a stack of 40 or a stack of 4.
But they were 45.
No,
With
no, they were the bigger ones.
They were album. They were
albums.
LPs.
Yeah, because it was a
33 and
4. What was
30
the 4
LPs.
top 40 Casey
okay, so
Kasem?
she's talking about American Top 40.
Yeah, with
Yes, correct.
all week, like it was the week's top 40.
Hmm.
And
Do
it
you
was a
know
purple.
who-
I remember it was a purple box, and I had tons of them because he would bring them home, and I'd make my mixtape.
Do you still have them?
No, I'm so upset
That'd be,
about it
that'd
too. I
be
wish
You
I
know
did.
who
I
is
know.
seriously into
Right?
vinyl?
Yeah, I know Bill Eddington.
Senator
I mean,
Alan
I-
Clark.
I
Oh,
wish
is
I
he
still had
really?
them.
Major into it. He buys and sells. You can go down to his store in Hot Springs, his lumber company and flooring store, and he's got a room with a bunch of albums. I bought
Really?
some for my daughter for Christmas last year.
That's incredible.
I know Been Around has a lot too. My son likes to go in there and look through them.
But Alan he's seriously into vinyl, and at one time, and I think he's getting it fixed or something. He had a jukebox
Oh wow!
in his office at the Capitol, which is about 3 doors down from my office in the Capitol. But,
Here's some good music.
so if you get Alan on, if you want to get him off of the political subjects, you can have him talk about.
Yeah, well, Bill and I,
about-
Bill owns Arkansas CD Exchange, and he's got so much vinyl at his house.
Is that in North?
It's incredible. Yeah, North.
Yeah,
Florida.
that one. Yeah, but they
Yeah.
got some good punk rock stuff.
Yeah, well, he's got great stuff at his store, but you should see his house. Oh my God, he's got to have at least 20 or 30,000 records.
People are coming back. CDs were a big deal because the crisp, perfect
Yeah.
sound, but the real serious aficionados think that you get a better quality, a more depth with
You do.
LPs. And
Totally.
I guess I have a 10 ear. I can't tell the difference.
Totally.
Yeah, I like wax better than I like.
And then Dave, people, we
CDs.
were talking about tubes. There are those that think if you have a Macintosh tuner, a receiver,
right,
or what do you call it, an amplifier.
My son had a tube amp, and we hated it. 'cause
Well, but
it'd be so delicate with it,
Yeah, but it was they say it's better quality. I mean, I couldn't tell you the difference, but they claim it.
What's the name? Starts with a B. Bearing. It's not.
Bang and Olufsen.
Bose.
No,
Bang
it's a
Olufsen.
German.
Okay.
It's a really good amp that he had that we bought, and it was really good quality. But every time you move it, you got to worry about hitting for shows or whatever. You got to worry about bumping the.
Well,
the
as you know,
they're
Dave,
expensive.
I don't know if Val remembers this, but we used to, if you had a problem with your TV, a TV repairman would come to your house and would probably change out one or more tubes.
That's right.
Now they just throw the TV away.
Yeah. I mean, now it's like a light bulb. It either works perfectly or you trash it.
They brought the tester
Right.
with them, and they'd stick the tube in it. And if it didn't light up, sorry, we need, and you may have to wait a week because we don't keep those in stock.
It was a different world.
It was a different world.
We had a neighbor in Conway that was a radio and TV repair person, and his daughters were friends. I still are, I guess. I haven't seen them in a long time. Friends of mine, and he would come to your house with his van, and he would change out the tubes, and it was usually a very short thing. You'd take the back. They don't want you to take the back off because if you touch the CRT when it's charged, you could probably be electrocuted.
You zap yourself a good one.
But he would he'd change out the TV. You fixed TVs just like you fixed cars. Yeah.
My dad did that as a part-time gig. He worked at Inland Steel, but he wanted to make a little extra money for the family, and so he put him through a trade school up there in Northwest Indiana and how to work on televisions. And I remember as a kid him saying, "Hey, Davey, I've got about 8 picture tubes. You want to take them out back and
shoot at them
and break them up?" And go out and
you shoot it with a 22.
I used to throw hammers through them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they went to the thick for safety, because remember, used to you had a piece of glass in front of the picture tube.
Yeah, and if thing blows up, it was like a bomb going off. It was amazing.
How did we get off on this?
I don't know, but that amp is called a Brugera.
Oh, okay.
Brugera.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's really expensive, but anyway, we got off on way in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's time to take a break.
Okay.
And then I'm going back to politics.
We'll go back
for a
and talk
little bit
about this
here in a
tax
second.
It's good to give everybody a break from politics.
Yeah, it does. All right, 22 after 10 here on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 FM. The Answer and our special guest, Arkansas State Senator Mark Johnson.
Hey now, if you've got mice, they're having a great time. So if you see one, you can bet there's 2. And where there's 2, and baby doesn't just make 3, it's more like 5 or 6. So if you hear them getting down inside your walls, call the Bugman at 663-9464 or go to bugman.com.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Did you hear Congressman French Hill on the Dave Elswick Show?
Needs to make sure that Iran does not have an active ballistic missile threat to the region, and they end their nuclear program and they stop funding terror proxies. And this is from one of their across the Persian Gulf neighbors, the UAE, and that's exactly the kind of response we need. And I think Trump right to be irritated with NATO. I mean, America.
I agree.
Immediately, we came immediately to the defense of Ukraine, which there's no question about that. And you and I are in full agreement on that Russia should not take Ukraine.
No.
And I agree with you. However, we replumbed the entire oil and gas industry to benefit Europe because of Russia's illegal, murderous invasion of Ukraine. And here, Europe and all around the world is dependent on the Straits of Hormuz and Persian Gulf oil production. Therefore, it's logical then that NATO and other American allies would, be supportive.
Don't miss Congressman Hill, Wednesday mornings at 7 on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1. The Answer.
I'm Ference Tove, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. I use common sense as an entrepreneur, financial literacy educator, and speaker to understand how current events affect our money, our economy, and our freedom. Grow your money safely, reduce taxes, increase returns, and create positive arbitrage with Your Personal Bank. Tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show, Saturdays at 1 p.m. or contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. The Your Personal Bank Show, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer.
The Dave Elswick Show continues now, 101.1 The Answer.
All right, back with you here on the Dave Elswick Show. State Senator Mark Johnson is our special guest. And when Grover Norquist was here last week, he brought me illustration of state sales taxes across the United States. It's pretty interesting.
It is. And let me just quickly say, these are states that have a zero income tax. Alaska, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, and New Hampshire. And that's...
It amazes me that New Hampshire is on that list.
New Hampshire is do you know why Tennessee has a zero income tax? They recently, for a long time, they would tax interest and dividends, but not salaries.
Oh, okay.
And because it's in their constitution, but they've eliminated that too, but it's in their constitution that human beings have a right to earn a living, and it was unconstitutional for the state to inhibit that by taxing it.
It takes away our happiness.
Yeah.
Like every hour I work, you're stealing an hour from me.
Well, and now
That's how I look at it.
I've always said, and people, without getting in the weeds on property tax,
Right.
I've always said that originally property tax was income tax because everyone was a farmer.
Right.
And if you owned 20 acres, you paid tax on that. And if you own 40 acres, you pay twice as much tax because it was based on how much land you had to cultivate because that was your income.
Right.
So it was never, I think, intended to be a tax on your home. It was on it was an income which was being a farmer.
Right.
And this is medieval. I mean, goes back to
Fiefdoms.
William the Conqueror.
Yeah.
He did the Doomsday Book, which was basically it was an assessment of the farmland in England.
So basically you're saying it wasn't a tax on that big, nice, beautiful mansion you built, but just the land.
And it was because that was your economic unit that
Right.
it was the equivalent of income tax.
Right.
And I think that we need to revisit that. I mean, I'm not saying that, everybody says, well, I don't like it. And a lot of people say, well, I'm paying rent to the government for my own house. Well, maybe not, but we need to understand the history of this and why, nobody that woke up one day and said, hey, there's really just 4 ways government can tax you, Dave. One is what some people have called a poll tax, but it's a per capita tax. Everybody pays $100. That's the simplest tax. Then they can tax you on what you make, an income tax, what you spend, a sales tax, or what you have, and that's a property tax. So that's really just the only 4 ways that government, I'm sure they can come up with some new ones, but ultimately that's what it is. So when you tax your assess your car, that's on what you have.
Right.
Or a home. Of course, income tax is straightforward, except for certain incomes exempt and some income is not. And that's the whole, you spend a lot of time, all you set is what's taxable income and what's the rate. I mean, it may be complicated, but at its basis, that's all it is. But this is interesting because it shows the trend among other states.
Okay, well, let's wait. And when we come back, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Got to get to the
Great.
news. News is next. And then after the news, we'll bring on Arkansas State Senator Mark Johnson for one more 25-minute segment here on the Dave Elswick Show.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A U.S. drafted peace proposal has been forwarded to Iran via Pakistan, which acted as a go-between. Iranian state media has already labeled the plan unacceptable. Iran now says it will allow non-hostile ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, subject to its approval. The U.S. is reportedly ready to send thousands of additional troops to the Middle East. The Homeland Security funding impasse has yet to be resolved, complicating air travel and making life difficult for thousands of TSA workers who are not getting paid. CPAC, the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, kicking off today in the Dallas suburb of Grapevine. On Wall Street, the Dow 243 points higher, the Nasdaq is up 194, and the S&P better by 36 points. More details, srnnews.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council. We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
When I met both of them, it was like my missing pieces were found. Like it was just like an instant, these are my kids. If you're considering adopting a teen, just do it. Kids need families. I don't care the age. Everybody deserves a family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Methodist Family Health has more than a century of providing the best possible care to those who may need our help. As we move forward through our second century, we are adding another nonprofit behavioral hospital for children and adolescents to our complete continuum of care. No matter the names of our programs, Methodist Children's Behavioral Hospital, Arkansas Cares, Methodist Counseling Clinics, we are all Methodist Family Health. Many names, one care.
You can watch the show right now. The Dave Elswick Show is streaming live on Facebook. This is 101.1 The Answer.
All right. We have about 20 minutes left with Mark Johnson. So what are you all talking about when you guys get together, the Republicans? What are you talking about? What you think is going to be the big issues during the fiscal session?
Well, the elephant in the room is the prison appropriation.
Right.
And if I don't know anything. There's a lot of varied opinions on it. But as I said, 27 votes and 75 in the House. See, it's never come up in the House.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a high bar. And it was always intended by the Constitution writers in 1874 to be a high bar.
Be difficult. That's
but
exactly right.
The point being that most people in the Senate anyway agree that we need more prison space. But when you had this huge outpouring of opposition for the location in Franklin County, you don't have to, again, you only got to get 26 votes in the House to stop it. You only have to get 8 or 9 votes in the Senate to stop it. So that's where we are on this. And I've heard there are other places that are now looking at trying to bid for the location. And, we have new members of the Board of Corrections. We confirmed 3 last week. And so we no longer have the Benny Magnuses of the world that are holding it up. I had a lot of problem. And again, maybe I'm a little bit of a purist. Everybody says, oh, that's an independent board. They're supposed to be independent. No, we have 3 branches of government, not 6 or 12.
That's right.
Or whatever.
I agree.
And if you don't like what the executive branches do, then vote for someone else for governor. We have an election this year. But if you agree with Governor Sanders, then, support that. But the point is, this is something that's worked out in the executive branch. We appropriate the money and we make laws, but these are administrative decisions. Now, I think there's got to be some flexibility as a matter of practicality. As I said, I voted for that appropriation 5 times. I will vote for it a 6th time. But I think, I want to see the prison move forward. I don't want us to be at an impasse because, once again, I don't want anybody stealing those Amazon packages off my front porch. And as I tried to get all of our citizens, your listeners, to understand, you do have a stake in this. And it's not just the really violent people who we tend to try to lock up anyway, but not long enough. We don't keep them locked up long enough. That's what we're fixing. We fixed that legislatively with the Protect Arkansas Act. And now we have to fund it by having a place to lock the bad guys up. And sheriffs all over the state will tell you about their county jail overcrowding problems, often exacerbated by state prisoners that can't quite be sent to Tucker or Cummings or wherever yet. So that, if we can solve that problem, I think fiscal session will be pretty easy, especially if our revenue projections, are up. And I think we will. I think our projections will put us in where we can cut the income tax to 3.5% or maybe even a little bit less.
How about if you get more money coming into the state than what you need, to do the things that you're
I think where
required
you're
to take care
headed,
of.
Dave, don't let me put words in your mouth, but what if we've got a bigger surplus even than we anticipated?
There you go. That's what I want. What do you do with the money?
There is nothing to keep the governor theoretically, and I hate to use a number because people say, well, you said you were going to do this, but we're sitting right now at our temporary goal is 3.5%, or right, maybe right under that. Let's say we have some tremendous that our estimates were too pessimistic, and we're going to have an even bigger surplus. The governor can call us into special session, and we can cut taxes again.
Okay.
And we've done that before. We can do it again. I'm definitely for it. And we have to take these opportunities as they come. Now, one of the debates, I think, and you can see this on this map, and that's and Kansas has done this, and Mississippi is doing this. Oklahoma is doing this. They've set what are called triggers, that if revenue does a certain thing, then the tax cut will be
that's
automatic.
what Americans for Prosperity want to do.
Right. And I'm for that to a point. I want to, but also, do you do it the other direction too? If revenues are down, do you automatically trigger the increase? And, part of being a legislator is you vote for bills. You want credit for voting for the good bills, but when you had to say, theoretically, I hope we don't get this way in Arkansas as long as I'm in the legislature, but theoretically, we could have to raise taxes. I can remember when Jim Guy Tucker was governor, we had some revenue shortfalls, and most of it related to Medicaid, and he proposed a tax increase. And they had a thing that they called the bed tax, which was a tax that had to do with nursing homes. And so, it can go the other way. I mean, we're sitting here, I do believe that our tax policy has significantly contributed to our economic growth, which results in more revenue for the state. If the economy grows, the revenue grows. That's what we want. That's the goal. But we're in a war right now. We've got gasoline prices have gone up. I'm confident that when seeing what the Pentagon's doing for the Strait of Hormuz, I saw a great video last night on YouTube about the Tripoli and the other ship they've sent over there. I think we're going to win over there. We're going to neutralize their ability to slow the shipping
we've kicked
down.
their butt. I mean, that's the bottom line.
But the Strait of Hormuz still has mines in it.
Yes.
But did you know about the fire on the Ford? There was a fire on the Gerald R. Ford, the aircraft carrier, and it's having to go get something fixed, and they're having to bring in another ship. I'll find that video and send it to you. But the point is, we will solve this problem. We will make sure that the oil can come through the Strait of Hormuz. We'll get oil. But the question is, as soon as you cut off that stream, prices are going to go up.
Yep.
We need to bring them back down. And
Right.
the way we'll do it, I'm sure over in the Permian Basin, they're going crazy now trying to pump more oil, and that's good. We want that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Billy Bob's probably over there encouraging them right now. But the fact is that we have a little blip in the economy, and if you're an over the road trucker, or you're in a business that's very
It's
energy
costing
dependent,
you.
yeah, it's seriously cutting into you. And what about the farmers that need that diesel fuel this spring to plant? They had enough problems already with the commodity prices being down. Farmers are in trouble, and this doesn't help when you have a serious increase in the price of diesel fuel. And yes, they pay less for their diesel fuel because it's not taxed, but that's going up too. Even they're not paying $5, but they're paying $3.50 or $4 maybe. So, and that's nationwide.
Yes, and that's right. I look, Gina Martin, when I did a lot of travel with her and Little Rock tours, she used to watch the price of diesel like a hawk.
Oh yeah,
and because that's what her buses were run on, was diesel fuel.
She should have called me back when I was in the conversion business. I could have fixed it where they could have run on waste vegetable oil, but that's another story.
Okay.
But the fact is that energy prices affect everybody,
Everything.
but especially certain businesses like her bus service, or farmers, or over the road 18-wheeler drivers. And the freight costs end up in the cost of everything you have.
Yeah, those are what are affectionately called hidden taxes.
Oh yeah, they are hidden taxes.
And a lot of people say, well, I look at what I pay for federal tax and state tax and this and that, and I'm paying like 30% of my income in the taxation. I said, you're paying a lot more than what you think you're paying.
If you people that don't own a home don't think they're paying property tax, but you can bet your landlord is, and he's passing that cost on to you.
Yes.
When government takes money out of the economy, they're taking it out of everybody's pocket usually. And maybe that's good because they're spreading the love around and the burden. That's what it's supposed to be. But my favorite story about taxes is I was talking to a gentleman once about, and I don't remember the context of it, but he was an engineer. And I said something about cutting taxes, cutting income. He goes, I don't pay taxes. I get a refund every year. This guy's an engineer today.
Okay. Yeah, he's making good. He's making bank. Yeah, he's doing good.
He didn't understand that the refund was his money that they had withheld out of his tax.
That's right.
That he was interest-free, letting the government use his money for that whole year.
I changed my, W-2. I filled out and changed it so that
Your
W-3.
Nine. The
Nine. Whatever one you put
No, your
in.
your W-4 is the one W-2 is the one they send you back. But the point is, people, they think, I'm getting a refund. And people like getting the refund.
Yeah, they do.
But that means the government is using your money interest free. And so if you can adjust that withholding where it's exactly right and you don't get a refund or maybe get a few dollars, that's the best situation. But people don't think about it. But the fact this guy literally thought he didn't pay taxes because he got a refund.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not.
And he's an engineer, so he's supposed to know numbers.
Not the case. I'm just telling you.
Right. Well, let's talk about this trigger thing again.
Okay.
Kentucky, Oklahoma, Mississippi, and West Virginia have put in the triggers. Kentucky's reduces the tax by 0.5% every year that the triggers are met until the tax is gone.
Of course, in Kentucky, remember that you can have a city tax. I worked in Lexington, right outside of Lexington, Kentucky.
Now, do they still have that, though?
I don't know if they do or not.
That'd be interesting. I'll find out. I have a real good friend that's a senator in Kentucky. They're in session right now.
But it was 3%.
And I will call him, and I need to talk to him about something else anyway.
Okay.
It's Senator Philip Wheeler. He's in the eastern part of Kentucky. He came to Arkansas when we had the Southern Legislative Conference had a leadership thing at Petty Jean Mountain.
Okay.
And he and I became good friends and stayed. For matter of fact, I talked to him yesterday or day before yesterday. But I'll find out if that's the case, because you couldn't keep that and phase out your income tax. They probably had to replace whatever they allowed. You said it was Louisville?
No, it was
or
Lexington.
Well, we're having the Southern Legislative Conference this year in Lexington.
Oh, okay.
In July. So I'll learn all about that.
Yeah, you'll find out about
they
it.
Maybe they started taxing the horse racing.
I don't foresee that happening.
Well, but the point is that if we have these triggers, then all us politicians don't get credit for coming in and cutting your taxes again. So,
right.
Well, you already did that. You're just following the trigger, and don't think that's not a factor. Some people want to be able to take a bow every time we cut. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I understand how politicians think. On the other hand,
right.
I just want to get there. I want us to get to zero. And I want to brag on AFP and Ryan and his staff.
They work hard at it.
They're working hard at it. Not everything we do policy-wise requires this educational thing for the public, but this one does. The public needs to understand how our tax policy is arrived at and how it affects them personally. And literally, I always said, people worry about this tax or that tax. Hey, Sometimes government takes it out of your shirt pocket. Sometimes they take it out of your back pocket. Sometimes they take it out of your front pocket. But they're taking it out of your pocket. And Ron and they up here do a great job of doing that. Matter of fact, we're hopefully soon going to schedule one of his forums on this pathway to zero in Conway in my district. So,
Good.
and he's your neighbor down the hall.
Yeah, he needs to come and talk. I mean, that's why he had
Grover Norquist.
Grover Norquist here. Grover can talk taxes with anybody.
Yeah,
I mean, he really can.
Yeah, he's a brilliant guy, and he can talk other stuff too.
Yeah,
but of course that's his wheelhouse.
His bailiwick is
yes,
taxes.
exactly. Yeah,
but it is.
But this is an interesting chart. But let me give people some comparison. We're at 3.9% top rate right now.
Okay.
California is at 13.3. So theirs is almost 10 points higher.
So
than
when
ours.
you look at, hey, I can go work in radio and I can make an extra $15,000 a year, maybe not so much.
And that doesn't forget taxes. The cost of living
can
be more.
Huge. Yeah.
Minnesota, 9.85%. New York, 10.9%. These, and they're taxes that are, and then we have states that have a flat tax. I mentioned Louisiana has gone to a 3% flat tax.
Yes, they did.
Now, one thing we do if we go to I like a flat tax if you're going to have it at all. And people say, well, you don't want to be regressive. Well, you exempt a certain amount of the income. And let's just say a family of four, your first $30,000 is exempt from tax. And then on the first dollar after that, you pay 3% or something. If we have to have an income tax, I think that's the way it ought to be. I think that's the way the federal income tax ought to be. But I'm not in Congress. We'll have to talk to our 6 national representatives to get them to figure that out. But I think this chart is very important. Dave, you have a Facebook page for your show.
Yeah.
You should maybe make a shot of this and share it, with your listeners. I want to go back to what the other states are charging. We mentioned the zero states, and now Alaska has zero, but remember Alaska has the energy amount, the energy taxes.
No, same way Texas.
Yeah, well, but Texas, they pay severance tax. They pay quite a bit of it. But again, that's a mixed bag too. We have severance taxes. We're about to see, hopefully soon, some revenues from the lithium play in South Arkansas because we will have severance tax on lithium. We don't want to set it too high so they don't go in and mine it or extract it. But we also want to see the revenue from that. And that takes us closer to, again, part of the pathway to zero. But states that have these high taxes are the states that's economies are contracting. It's not a economic theory, it's an economic fact.
I've been preaching this for a long time. I've been preaching since I got to Arkansas, at least, and I think a lot of people have changed their mind about progressive income tax and all the rest of the stuff that we've got.
It's easy to say, well, let's tax the rich. Let's let the rich pay for that.
Ask New York how that's going.
And these rich people will vote with their feet.
Yeah. They don't have to live in your state.
Exactly. And Florida, of course, it's like we got the weather and we got zero income tax. And guess what? Of course, they do have hurricanes.
Yeah.
But, hey, nowhere's perfect. But,
all right. Well, let's take a break. Final break of the hour here on the Dave Elswick Show.
Don't miss out on the latest news. Make sure you're listening for all the details on Operation Epic Fury, right here on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Israel, a hot topic right now. Hi, it's Chris Stegall. So many opinions around Israel, emotions. I can understand why it feels hard to know where to start. I like to start with the Bible, Scripture. tells us, I will bless those who bless you. And that's not just a comforting promise, it's a clear calling from God. So today, with anti-Semitism on the rise, that calling is more urgent than ever. At a time when Jewish communities are experiencing more hostility, more threats, and more violence than ever, Christians have a powerful opportunity to respond with God's love, to say, you're not alone. When Christians choose to bless Israel, we're not entering into some political issue. We're honoring the root of our faith and standing against hatred. Supporting Israel is more than a belief. It's a biblical mandate. And by partnering with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you can push back against the darkness and be a light to God's people. Learn how you can bless Israel at ifcj.org. Live the word. Answer the call. ifcj.org.
What if you could take 101.1 The Answer with you everywhere? You can. Download the 101.1 The Answer app and stay connected to the voices you trust, live and on demand. Wake up with Dave Elswick. Stay sharp with Doc Washburn. And hear from national voices like Chris DeGaulle, Scott Jennings, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Mike Gallagher. Breaking news, bold opinions, local insight, national perspective, all in one place, all in your pocket, at work, in the car, on the go. If it matters to Arkansas and America, you'll hear it on 101.1 The Answer. Plus, stream us live anywhere. Catch up on podcasts and never miss a moment. Search 101.1 The Answer in your app store and download it today. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Without you, this radio station would not exist. Every day we strive to bring you messages of hope, life, and love. Now it's your turn to let us know how we're doing. If we have impacted your life in a positive way, please tell us your story. Call our Impact Hotline at 877-52-FAITH and tell us how the ministries on this radio station have changed your life. If there is ever a time when we need to encourage each other, now might be it. Call our Impact Hotline at 877-52-FAITH.
101.1 The Answer. Weather.
Well, it just doesn't get much better than this weather-wise. High today of 84 with plenty of sunshine, 52 for the low tonight, then all the way up to 86 with sunshine tomorrow.
Dave Elswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1 The Answer.
Back with the State Senator Mark Johnson. Can we talk a little bit about a change in college athletics that has come about?
Oh, Lord,
with
yeah.
Name, image, likeness, NIL money.
Yes, we can talk about it.
There are some states that don't tax their athletes, and there's other states that do tax their athletes.
Dave, I usually don't regret any vote I make in the legislature.
Uh-huh.
I voted to exempt the NIL money from state income tax.
Okay.
And I regret it. When I did it, I was envisioning, these kids that they deserve to be paid something.
Right.
I told the story of my cousin who was a manager for the Razorbacks back when they won the national championship there in Charlotte for the Final Four. And he told me about walking through the mall with some of the players. Corliss Williamson saw his jersey, his number 34, in the window of the store.
Right.
And he said, Corliss, does that bother you? He goes, he said, it doesn't bother me that I can't, that I don't get any money off of it. It bothers me. I can't afford to buy that jersey.
There you go.
Well, and these kids deserve to be paid. Graduate students are paid for what they contribute to the university.
Right.
And I thought we should do something to help the kids. I had no idea. I was thinking, well, you'll pay them a couple thousand, $3,000 a month or something like that.
How about millions?
I can't believe that we've got people making $1 million for playing. What is it? It said that Arch Manning makes $6 million.
$6 million.
Yeah. I mean, this is insane.
NIL.
And then we've got some single mom in Southwest Little Rock having to pay income tax. That's wrong, and we need to fix it. The bill that Senator Cruz has is a great start. The president is behind it. He convened a group of leaders, including Coach Saban.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Saban said it.
Yeah.
It's going to ultimately destroy college sports.
That's why Saban left.
Yeah, it's going to destroy college sports.
Yeah.
Now, it's like the NCAA has proven their total incompetence. They fought this for years. The Supreme Court said these young people have a right to make a living, and then it totally goes the wrong direction. So yes, we've got to do something at the federal level
All right.
to fix it.
That's all the time we got.
David's been
Appreciate you
fun.
coming in 2 hours, and it seemed like you've been here 20 minutes.
Well, we'll do it again sometime soon.
All right.
And if as we get into fiscal session, if you would like me to maybe bring a colleague or a key
absolutely.
person. Years ago on another station, as I said, they brought in one senator would bring in a person every week.
All right. We're out of here. Time for your news.
All right.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Most Americans say they don't support the ongoing war against Iran. A new AP North poll shows that a majority of Americans surveyed believe the military action against Iran has gone too far. 90% of Democrats feel that way, as do about 60% of independents. Republicans are more divided. The polling data show that many Americans are worried about affording gasoline. Keeping the price at the pump down is the rare goal that unites both major political parties. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Pakistan, volunteering to broker an end to the war, has sent Tehran a 15-point ceasefire proposal. John Gamble reports so far it's having little effect.
So it remains unclear whether this 15-point plan is going to be enough to try to get to the negotiating table, but these new troop movements